Once me and the plug are connected, course it's something electric. Fucking respect it.
What's going on, people? It's your boy Trubs. Welcome back to the Plug TV, and today we are talking Battle of the Year. It's finally that time. I can't wait to get this done personally, but here we are. Big up everyone that voted. Big up everyone that donated. And yeah, let's see who wins this year. But before we get into the list, obviously I've got to bring on the panelists. We've got Danny from Pick Your Battles. What's up?
Smokehouse, what's up?
Obviously, Cammy. What's happening?
Obviously. Thanks, mate.
Come on. Long hair Linda. Wagwan. London Jennn. Big up. And we got Battle Rap Wax.
Yo.
How's everyone doing?
We're good, finally.
We're good. Excited.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into our individual lists, I actually want us to have a quick look at the previous year, 2021 and 2022. 2021 we had Bezo Bond winning. Shuffle T coming second, Georgie Roots number 3, Bobby Rex number 4, Rivers number 5, Nugget number 6, 7, Frankie Fraser, 8, Moke, 9, Frost, and 10, Visual. And then a slightly different one, obviously you got Bizzo winning for the second time in 2022, Bobby Rex number 2, Moke number 3, Visual number 4, Frost number 5, Briggsy number 6, 7, Koj, 8, Kingsley Thunder, 9, Quill, and 10, Crow. So obviously people like Georgie Roots kind of dropped from 2021 to 2022. He didn't make the list. Bobby Rex kind of maintained himself in the top 5. Bizzo won the second time.
A lot of newcomers in the 2022 year.
Yeah. What you guys think of the difference in between that list and how different will this year be?
It's kind of crazy to be fair.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot different.
I'd say the most startling difference is perhaps Gemini came outside in 2023.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of the pool, you know what I mean? Like more battlers came outside the play, where 2021, 2022, they there was a smaller amount, so the numbers were easier. Bizzo was quite clearly the top one, but now almost everyone came outside, to the point now Lunar C's outside. Like this is making this list a lot harder to put throughout the whole year.
Yeah. I mean, Lunar C's 2024, so we came outside 2023 actually. Yeah. Even though he didn't qualify, we'd come outside.
2023, quite early in the year, it looked as though like where you had those, some of the newer names, Moke, Visual, Kingsley, Crow, featuring highly, in the top 10. 2023 early on, it just seemed like, okay, the vets are outside and they're gonna make it tough. Like they're gonna make it tough, and none of you guys are shooing anymore. Like you're gonna have to fight for your spot, because the ones that were already doing work, they're still doing work, and the ones who weren't, they're back, baby, they're back.
I saw you made it in the top 10 last year, and you thinking that's big blood, but if we was around then, you wouldn't be discussed. If you brought back the top tiers, they would have picked us. Watch this year. You'll be in the 10, then out the 10. Quicker than Liz Truss. The shit's fucked.
Seeing these two lists with Moke, Frost, and Visual near each other in both of them, I don't think that's going to necessarily be the case this year either.
Oh, that's
Spoilers already, bruv. What's going on, bruv? Spoilers already. Come on, man. Let's take that.
I don't think it's spoilers. I think it's fair observation. I think just by the sheer fact, as some of you mentioned already, some of the OGs are back outside. They're here. Like the COVID era is now done. People are outside showing what they've got. They're showing they can take a lot of these newcomers and just move them completely off this list. And that's no disrespect to them. They just, like Jen said, have to fight harder. You have to work harder. Nothing is solidified for you. Nothing is guaranteed because, there's only a certain number of people outside. You're really going to have to fight for your spot, and you might have to face somebody who's been in this game for a long time and knows exactly what to do on a stage or in the pit. You're going to have to prove yourself. And I think this year is probably the beginning of a tide change almost. If a lot of the OGs, they're talking big game online. They're saying they're staying outside. They've been outside. They're staying outside. They're going to be qualifying every year, according to them. They've got matchups already booked in February. So they're just saying, listen, this list ain't going to see you anymore.
All right. We'll start with Danny, and then I'll go next. I'll let you take the floor, bro.
So, I think everyone's list is probably going to be Gemini or Koj first. I was looking at both of them too, and I started to have to look at this list a bit differently because I swear to God, there is like 18 battlers this year that deserve to be in the top 10, and it is just impossible. But especially in the certain spots as well. So I started to have to look at kind of like why I wouldn't give me a reason why they shouldn't be. So I kept swapping between Koj and Jemma at first, and it wasn't until the last day that I kind of looked at it and I thought they've both had 4 battles, they've both had an international, they've both battled Rivers, and they've battled each other. They've both also taken 1 loss. Gemini's loss was still a Battle of the Year contender. Koj's loss was against Raptor, which was in a lot smaller of a event and everything as well. So that's kind of why them two ended up being in there. And obviously Jem becoming Don't Flop champ as well.
You got Koj beating Real Sick?
I've got that as not as a win, as a good battle though. I don't think he got washed. And I think
he definitely didn't get washed. It just
definitely not. But yeah, I do see Real Sick taking that battle. But I don't see it as like Koj's stock lowering because of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 1000%. Yeah.
Quill for me is a definite third. I think that's going to be in a lot of people's lists, in my opinion. I quite like the way that he brought kind of the prestige back to the DF title whilst he held it throughout this year as well. The build up to the Gem battle, and obviously he had a really, really good performance against Gem as well. But he's had a lot of standout moments. The visual battle, all of the back and forth with Shotty during that and everything, and still being able to maintain his material and carry on with the battle. The mid-round freestyle against Marlowe, giving Sean Cray that look as well. I thought that was really cool. And then obviously going overseas and battling Thesaurus, hearing great things about that battle. So yeah, I think he deserved the 3rd spot. Bizzo in 4th. He's kind of cemented a lot of what we've all been thinking. Would he have beaten Yunnan? He did get the judged win, so I kind of feel like that solidified his spot as the champ even more so. Then retaining the title against Bobby, again in quite a high stakes clash. That was not just for the title, but for the season as well. It was kind of Sharks versus Pride right at the end there. And then again, had a really, really good show with Lou Castro. I think Lou definitely took it like 2-1 maybe, but it was, again, it wasn't anything that lowered Bizzo's stock for me personally. Yunnan was this was one of the hardest ones because I wanted Yunnan, I wanted to put him in my top 5, but looking at the list and the win-loss ratio, he's got 3 judge losses, and that's Bizzo, Bobby, and Gist.
Respectfully, I didn't count.
So that's what I was going to say, right? But you have to leave it. If you're going to get a judge decision, right, you have to get that decision.
That is true.
It has to be undeniable. And I think for the level that Yunnan is, that should have been undeniable, personally. And then, you know, we talked about like professional stuff. I know he moved a couple of battles around and things like that as well. So I kind of took that into account. So yeah, I couldn't quite put him in the top 5 because of that. Too many judge losses that year, and also just the lack of consistency in terms of professionalism. But going out to Battle in America against Fredo is crazy as well. His battle there was absolutely insane. I would say he probably did the best at the UK guys that went out there. Got the best look in terms of like after the battle and the feedback and everything. So yeah, real big up to him for that. Next I got Reverse. I feel like this was the year that he solidified his spot as becoming like a future top tier. I think everyone kind of seen that in him anyway, but this was the year where everyone like definitely seen it in him, if you know what I mean. But again, he's the short prep battle against Loso didn't look out of place at all in that. And I mean, what this is I think it's like 18 months he's been battling, and he's at that stage already. I think that's crazy. And he arguably hasn't lost this year, so I think he deserves his shout out. There's a reason why he got put in for Battler of the Year rather than Newcomer of the Year in the Prem awards as well. So yeah, I definitely put him in for that. Crow at 8th, kind of the same reason as Reverse. I feel like he kind of solidified his spot this year in terms of someone who's going to be tussling with those top guys next year. I want to see Crow getting a few plates next year. Obviously ending the year strong with Emerson Kennedy as well. I know he didn't exactly have the best performance, but Crow didn't kind of let that stop his steam, and he still, made that battle something good and something watchable. So yeah, I think he takes the 8th spot for me. Visual on 9th. So Visual, obviously outside of battling, he kind of headed up the PBI. I think that was a really big movement and really, really good of him. He's won a title. He's again had those big stake matchups, like Briggsy was again for the season title, for the trophy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and like I say, becoming champ of Ireland as well is a good look. And then 10th is I've been calling him the workhorse this year, Gas Buff. I think he's been, well, it surprises me when he's not on a card, to be honest. He kind of like reminded me of like Sam Hypes in 21, just on every single card, but it was more noticeable that he was on every card.
Yeah.
So I had to give him that look for that. And then I've just wrote in big letters views next to his name as well. I think that accolade that he's got, regardless of who the opponent is, obviously, again, he didn't look out of place in that battle. He held his own in that battle and made that battle watchable as well. If it was a complete body, I don't think it would have done the numbers that it has done. So yeah.
Do
you want to talk about that before we go on to honorable mentions and all that stuff?
No, go on.
All right, so honorable mentions.
I mean, unless anyone's got anything to say about.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, for me, I questioned Gas Buff because obviously he had the work rate of a madman.
Mm-hmm.
So would we not think about the win-loss ratio of these battles?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I've got it all wrote down actually. So I think obviously the battle against Lord Bentner, I do think he won. Again with Gas as well, he was. Huh?
That was a little closer than it should have been.
Still took the win though. Still, he did win the battle. He done enough to be able to win the battle. I think Gaz time was a complete body, and in my opinion, would have been a contender for body of the year. But I think because it was so early on in the year, it was maybe looked over a bit. I think the only kind of bad, if you could say bad, but the only like slip up of a performance was against Carlton, in my opinion, for Gaz.
He choked in Ireland really badly.
Was that sub-rhyme?
I think it was sub-rhyme, but they edited it out. Like it was really bad form, like a proper like Twitter apology. Oh, I didn't do it. I just blanked, and like it was quite a sad story. But I totally agree with you that Gas was like his promo. He was visible everywhere. He was totally everything he was doing. We knew, considering how much that he was on. and to give him credit for that, like just how hard that is to be seen in UK battle rap, in battle rap in general, and all credit to him. I just like there's a few, maybe one or two other battles when I looking over his resume that I thought I'm not sure he won that, and it'd be the only reason I knock him off personally.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I think you've got a super solid list. I might, yeah, this is very similar to mine actually. I disagree. I don't have gas buff on mine, but I totally understand why you do in terms of impact as well. Gas buff is an impactful battler. He makes an impact, and he did have, what was it, 10 battles. I don't have him, I think, on kind of level of opposition, and in terms of kind of level of, I've got other people over him, but I think it's respectable to have him in there at 10. I think that's a great list.
Two honorable mentions, right?
Yeah.
And I found this more difficult than the list, I think, because this is literally just everybody that I think could have deserved a 6th to 10th spot. Like, I was toying with so many different names throughout, but on the top of that list, I do have Rivers. I think in terms of professionalism, like he hasn't fully come out and said like the sort of year he's had, but I think a lot of people can tell it's not been the best in terms of like outside of battle rap and stuff. So I think for him to have come in and done the year that he did, still, like, he went against probably one of the best Kojs and best Jemms like this year, the form that them two are on, and again not looking out of place and even taking rounds and all this sort of stuff. And then Holmesy, like, I personally preferred Rivers in that battle. I do think Rivers took that battle, in my opinion. And yeah, so I definitely want to shout Rivers out for that. But I've also got Sean Cray, Shuffle, Whispers, Frank, Black T, and Ikid. I think all of them. Look, it's hard to, like, I want to just give.
I'll be giving too many honorable mentions, man.
He snuck them in.
I'm just
he snuck them in. Sneak them in.
Listen, they got to work harder.
I'm just gonna say Rivers. That's it.
One person. Everyone else has to work harder to get the mention.
Nah, definitely Rivers.
Right.
Definitely Rivers.
Is right, but I respect that, Danny. I like.
Nah, definitely Rivers.
I respect it too, to be fair, but yeah, like, not everyone can get flowers. Work harder than you get flowers.
Yeah,
and all like that.
But yeah, that's my honorable mention. For round of the year, I'd say Bobby's second versus Bizzo. I personally really enjoyed that round because I don't think there was any material in it that Bobby could have said to anyone else but Bizzo. I feel like it was a very well crafted and well catered round, specifically for Bizzo. So I really, really like that. Battle of the year, sorry, I said Yunnan and Bizzo. Again, with all the kind of controversy around it, I thought that was quite cool because it wasn't just about necessarily who had the better bars, but it was all about like the structure as well, like in terms of how PB set up their battles, and like Yunnan going for like 20 minutes in his second round and stuff like that. Like, I just thought it opened up a lot of discussions. There was a lot of rumblings around that. So yeah, I really, really like that battle anyway. And newcomer, I can't see anyone else but RX. Personally, the impact he's had coming onto the scene has been electric, to be fair.
So my list is slightly different in terms of order. I've got Gem number 1. Obviously, as Danny said, and for a lot of people, it seems like it was very in between Gem and Koj. Both had great years. Personally, I edged it to Gem because Gem just has a sort of impact like no other. Like, I think there's only like people like Shorty or something that can trump Gem's impact personally. When Gem's on the card, and I think Koj is heading that way in terms of branding, everything, overall package throughout the year. I feel like Gem had one judge lost, which was Koj, ironically. great performance versus Quill. 10 days later, Coffee. Yeah, I edged it to Jennn. Koj had a great year. I feel like Koj, if people had any doubts about Koj, he kind of just, you know, a lot of people don't like Koj because he can be an arsehole, but you can't really challenge him. You can't, like, he's one of them ones, like, he's a very intelligent person. So argue with him, he's always gonna have his reasons why he says what he says, whether you agree or you don't. And outside of that, when it comes to battles, he always shows up. You know, he had a judge loss versus Raptor, but that was a very close battle as well. Like, I feel like anyone could have won that battle, to be quite honest. So it is what it is. I think Yunnan had a great year. He had the judge loss with Bizzo, but he made it. Even though, because you know, when he's a judge L, is down to the 3 or the 5 judges that picked it. If you pick 5 different judges, it could be a different decision. We don't know. So only thing you can really do is make it as close as possible. So even if you have a judge loss, make it controversial then, innit? Like, and I think Yunnan did that. So even though he lost to Bizzo, he did enough to have a controversial and made his statement. Battled overseas. Professionalism could have been better, in my opinion. As you guys mentioned, I think I always say the way when you're a top tier, you got to lead by example. All the cancellations of battles and Twitter outbursts, not really a fan. But in terms of work ethic, he had a good year. Quill, I put Quill number 4. Quill had his battles late this year. He battled Visual. Well, this year, I mean last year. He battled Visual in February, and then he didn't. I swear he didn't battle all the way up until Gem, then Saurus, then Sean Cray, like, which was very back to back. Saurus was what, right after?
He had Marlowe, Trubs.
Oh yeah, Marlowe as well. Which was a great performance as well. I'll keep forgetting that one. But yeah, which great performance. He had the judge loss versus Marlowe, but I think he did great. Personally, I think in that battle, if he had spat a little longer on his third, that battle could have been different. But he didn't, and he had a judge loss. But yeah, I think Cole had a good year. I think Bobby at number 5. Bobby's number 5 because even though he lost to Bizzo, he had a good battle with Bizzo for the title. Lost to Bizzo for the title.
Yeah.
I think he had a good battle with Yunnan. And I think he really had a great showing versus Frankie. And I think his performance versus Frankie, personally, I think he's being a bit underrated. I feel like he dominated Frankie. Like, and I was debating between Bizzo and Bobby with this spot, and I edged it to Bobby because he actually had a fully clear win. Like, I feel like it was a body, and I love Frankie, but I feel like it was a body still. So I feel like him catching the body made me edge it to Bobby. Bizzo, obviously retaining the title is massive. His battle with Lou was a good battle. Lou, obviously, as everyone knows, he outperformed him and made it super entertaining. I think I would like to hope. Well, I think Bizzo kind of learned a lot from that battle as well. In terms of, obviously, his writing is amazing, but there's certain things that he needs to do to stand out a bit more than I think he saw that versus the Lou battle. But he had a good year. Outside of that, he had obviously the judge win versus Yunnan, which Yunnan is a solid opponent, isn't it? Then we got Visual. I think Visual had a good year. Obviously lost to Quill in February, but then I think he was kind of up from there. Like, he didn't really. He beat Moke, who was like number 3 last year. He beat who else did Visual beat? I feel like he beat Black T. I feel like he beat Briggsy. Huh?
Raptor as well. Briggsy.
Yeah, Raptor,
Raptor,
and got a title. So I think Visual had a good year. I do want to see him now facing bigger opponents going into the new year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Viz had a good year. Reverse, I think he also had a great year. Obviously the battle with Loso in like 2 days prep or some shit like that was mad. So shout out to Reverse for that. But yeah, he's very focused on going at his class. So he beat Crow, he beat Georgie, which was a very big win. I think his battle with Georgie kinda was I feel like it was a very big win for him. I felt like, I edged his battle with Lazy to Lazy. I think he done well. And then I got Lazy, and then I think Lazy had a good year as well. Lazy's I think Lazy sometimes is underrated, but
yeah.
Salute to him. He's battling homeschool in Ireland. I'm really interested to see that battle. But I think Lazy had a good year, and then I had Aikid because I think Aikid had also an underrated year. I feel like he beat Matter, he beat Caveman. I feel like he beat Caveman quite clearly. Away game, and then he had a battle. Also, one thing I think is important is the events you battle on, and I think Aikid having Battle of the Night on Plug Pre-Party, I think that was massive. And then he had a battle in Ghana, which we haven't seen yet, but salute to him for getting that international plate and having that the energy in that him versus Slim Buck to me was amazing, man, and I needed to give him his flowers. But well, I'll let if you guys got anything to say.
I think it was actually a good shout to include Aikid. I'm glad, and I hope that a couple more people do give him some props so we can at least end up, hopefully in the overall top 20. That would be good because I think he did do his big one in 2023.
Yeah. Question, Trubs. Have you taken Crow off the list because you're about to battle him?
Why would I do that?
Just
why would I do that?
I noticed that Crow wasn't on the list, and I just wondered if that was maybe recent.
Nah, I think that was a silly question. To be quite honest,
you stole my question.
So why would you? Sorry. Why would that even be a question, though? Why would that even be a question?
I'm only playing. I totally get your 10 there. The one thing for Lazy I originally had in my 10, but then I'd recalled that he had the Soweto Kinch battle.
Yep.
But the Soweto
which
Kinch
just came out yesterday.
It did. It was on the Don't Flop Patreon for quite a while. It wasn't a good look at all. And it's the only reason I took him out. I just wondered if maybe the Plug 4 performance, 30, like I say 30 in reverse, but like did that outweigh what happened on the Soweto Kinch battle, or how is that I
don't know. Like I feel like Lazy battled Sam Hypes on the Liverpool card, which was a sold out card. He had a great performance, and he had a great performance versus like same way. A lot of people have Koj number 2, even though he has a judge loss versus Raptor. I knew he had lost to Soweto Kinch, but to be quite honest, I didn't really care. I didn't think he affected his year as much.
To be fair as well, I think like looking at like you just say about the cards that he's been on, I think I've probably overlooked Lazy a bit this year as well. But the cards that he's been on has been the Shotty Shuffle card. Obviously
Plug 3.
Yeah.
Like he's been on some big stages this year as well.
I think Lazy's had an amazing year. Like I think he's had a really, really good year. I think again, level of opposition, when I look at some of the people around him in consideration for where I might put him on my list, it was you've put in great performances, but so have they, and they've done it with a higher level of competition, and that's the only reason, like, where I've kind of, like, when I'm looking at where he ranks, but like looking at I haven't seen the Soweto Kinj bout. Like, it's just, if it's just come out, I'm not a Don't Flop Patreon subscriber, but yeah, he's put in really good performances. You can't deny that. I think he's had a great year.
And just to answer the Crow thing, I think Crow had a great year, but obviously lost to Reverse, lost to Roots, and say again.
No, I was just listening. That's all. What's my bad?
All right, yeah. So to me, it was the lost with Reverse, lost to Roots, and he battled Emerson Kennedy, which was a great win. But we all know how underwhelming Emerson Kennedy was, and yeah, I think.
Yeah, but you can't blame Crow for that, man.
I didn't blame him. I didn't blame him. It just wasn't a great battle.
I mean,
I'm not blaming him,
yeah.
but overall wasn't a great battle. Obviously, he can only be who's in front of him. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
But as a viewer, I'm not gonna go back and watch that battle based on.
But should that affect someone's rating for that? Because someone else wasn't prepared. I mean,
No. He got his points for that. He got his points for that, but at the same time, I don't think he cared. He got. I only gave him a certain amount of credit for that. His impact of the battle wasn't what he was supposed to be, in my opinion. No one else left that card thinking, "Raw, like that was an amazing battle," in my opinion.
It was an amazing battle.
And that's not his fault, but that's just what it was.
Still got the body. It is what it is. Like, man didn't come prepared.
I think there's a difference between getting a body and given a body, like being given a body, if you know what I mean. Like Bobby versus Frankie. No, sorry, that's not a body, but like that's more like going.
I hear what you say. But
your opponent had, when there's no fight from your opponent, it's different. Like, you haven't had to fight for the body. Someone's laid down in front of you. It's very different when your opponent is fighting back, but still you've outclassed them, outmatched them, outrapped them every round. Like, it's a very different.
And it still leaves a what if factor, because now when we see a high level Emerson Kennedy, we're like, can Crow still beat this one? We don't know.
So Trubs, would you not go back to watch Crow's material? Because, for example, like Tech versus Villain, I've gone back to watch Tech's material. Do you know what I mean?
How many times?
I've literally. Do you think, a couple of times, to be fair, because I'm quite a fan of Tech, but do you think you would go back to watch Crow's material in that battle?
Not more than once.
Okay.
Like, bro, like, do you know what it is with me? There's so many sick battles that come out every day. I want to maximize my level of entertainment. So if I want to be entertained by the short period of time that I have to watch all these battles that come out all the time, so often, I want to watch a battle that has 6 rounds of entertainment rather than 3. And again, no, it's nothing against Crow. Crow done his job. But when we're speaking about impact of the battle, obviously everyone spoke about the title match that event. Everyone spoke about Frankie and Saurus that event. Everyone spoke about Reverse and Loso that event. And I haven't really seen people speaking about Crow versus Emerson Kennedy. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So for yourself then,
so that's an international battler that didn't really get spoken about after the event. Again, it's not Crow's fault. It's just my reason as to the impact of the battle didn't, you know.
I get that. So you put like back and forth, and like because there was always this idea of the impact of a body, and a lot of battle rappers looking for a body, and 3-0 were clear because I would also say that Crow's performance versus Emerson Kennedy is one of his best performances of the year. Because I
think he was much better versus McKenzie.
Now, probably only that battle there would it be kind of close. But I think he was better there than he was versus Reverse. And what have a note for there? And also Frost. I think he was much better versus Emerson, and he rose to the occasion than he did versus the other two that I've mentioned. I think there's the classic thing of a body, and I don't know if we're maybe entertainment value, totally get it. Just the impact of a body as in battle rap was once what most people sought after, no matter how it happened.
I feel like you lot are talking to me about Crow for way too long, to be quite honest. But
I just thought.
I just feel like I'm being asked so many questions about Crow because I'm battling him. I don't like it, but I don't. But you know it is. You know it is like because I feel like you lot feel like to me, it's not just his win versus Emerson Kennedy that made him not make my list. If I had one more spot, it would have been Crow. It's literally not just the Emerson Kennedy battle. He also has in a mix of 5 battles. He has also 2 losses.
Yeah.
So how are we just ignoring that now all of a sudden and just gonna ask me questions about Crow like he hasn't lost 2 battles? So, like,
Everyone.
Come on, for sure. Come on. And like, and there's no question of integrity and whatnot. Because I know that you would have put him in there if he was in that top 10 to you. So it's not a question on that. It was just, it just incompatible. Like IK the Lazy is maybe someone who can go up there, but I totally hear your reason. And the 2 losses are totally justified.
I think Lazy, again, he battled on the plug 4 card on the big stage, which counted a lot for him, and he battled on the Liverpool card, which was a sold out event.
Yeah,
and to me, he had a clear win also on plug 3 versus Raptor. Like the level of events that Lazy battled on consistently.
And it was a judged win as well, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say, judged wins as well.
I think, Lazy's consistency was undeniable. Like for me, like he didn't necessarily have the level of opposition, but every performance he gave 110 and he did what he had to do and beyond. I think that same thing, like level of opposition, talking about EK, right? It's weighted because there is EK, but someone mentioned EK on form. Like I've seen EK fire like recently against Twerk, against Rum Nitty, like amazing. Like if you EK, his performance wasn't a factor in that battle. It could have been anyone in front of Crow. It could have been a newcomer giving that performance. It was that weak. But Crow, sometimes that can make it even harder for you as an opponent. Like that can unsettle you as a battler. That can, like Crow kept his foot on neck. Like he did his job. He really came and, crushed it. Like he wasn't affected by the fact that he wasn't sitting there thinking, no one's going to watch this battle. Like this is, it's fucked up my battle. Like, I'm choking now because I'm thrown off because of the fact that he's so bad. Like I won't take anything away from Crow from Emerson Kennedy's performance, but there was no fight. Yes, it was an absolute body. Crow did what he had to do, but it was, fighting a dead opponent.
There's no reward for punching a man with no gloves. So I do get it, but I just only asked the question. But I totally
of course. I mean, to me, it's just impact of a battle criteria. That's the only thing.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Absolutely.
My honorable mention was obviously Gas Buff. I feel like, work rate, 10 battles, and highest viewed UK battle of the year, surpassing Shorty and Shuffle is a madness. It didn't make my list because of his win-loss ratio, and also his highest viewed battle is a battle that he lost. So, but I do feel like he deserves his flowers for the work he's put in, man, and his promo game is not just what he does in the ring, his work rate on preparing for battles, etc. It's also his work rate with his promos. He's very consistent with it. So shout out Gas Buff, battle of the year. I got Koj versus Gemini. Round of the year, I got Gemini's second versus Koj. It was between that one and his second versus Quill, two of my favorite rounds from Gem. Newcomer of the year, I got RX.
Okay.
That is me. Go on. Any more questions about Crow?
What do you think? What do you think about Corin? No, I'm joking.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Great minds. That's what it is.
Everyone hold their gasps until I'm done. Okay. All right. So first things first about my list, I want to say that I did take into account a lot of the metrics that Shrubs had mentioned on Twitter when he was trying to get everybody to make sure that they vote. Some of those metrics were things like wins and losses, level of competition, battle of the night, performance of the night, impact, consistency, public demand moments, professionalism, replay value, entertainment, and overseas performance. One thing I will say about overseas performance is I did take that into account where applicable, but I didn't penalize battlers that didn't have overseas performances, but instead looked at maybe any internationals that flew over for them to battle. I tried not to take away points for them not having that kind of showing, obviously, while still thinking about level of competition. I will also say that for me, impact, consistency, and replay value were kind of more weighted in terms of the metrics for me personally, just because I like what I like. I go to events. I enjoy what I like at events. I know what I then go and watch back once it's available on Patreon and then YouTube. So I think that was kind of, it was always going to be more weighted for me personally.
With that basically saying, if you don't like it,
you don't like it. It is what it is. I don't care. It's fine. But I will say my 1 and 2 was definitely the hardest for me to actually make this decision when it came down to, writing my order. 1 and 2 was incredibly difficult for me. And I think it was so difficult that I messed up the order of 2 other ones, which I'll get into, but I'll stand by it because I voted now. It is what it is. But 1 and 2 messed with my head so much because I think Koj and Gemini both had incredible years in 2023. But I think in the end, I had to go with Koj in at number 1 and Gemini in at number 2. So we'll start with Koj. Obviously, he had 4 incredible showings. We've talked about this already from the 2 previous panel members. So yes, he battled Raptor, Gemini, Rivers, and Real Sick. So for the Raptor battle, I was there in the building. It was a very, let's say, hard to please Manchester crowd in Off the Square. And I think that even still, it was like battle of the night, not a huge card, not loads of competition in terms of the other battles that were available on the day. But I think it was still a good battle. I think a lot of people slept on Koj's material. But I think even that crowd, even with all the sleeping, even with all the other circumstances, I think they especially appreciated the comedic second round. And I think that showed range from Koj that we probably weren't always used to. He's done comedic stuff before, but I think in terms of the way that his year has gone, I think that was actually a pretty good, even though it was a judge loss, it wasn't for the season, but it was a judge loss. I think that was a pretty good indicator of like him stepping into his comedy and that comedy really hitting with the crowd. So I really enjoyed that battle on the day. Watched it on the day, watched it back, a lot closer watching it back than when you're in the room, just because of, how the crowd kind of was feeling in the moment. But I really enjoyed that battle. His only judged battle for this season was a win against Gemini. Let's not forget, he defeated somebody that was undefeated for 10 years. That battle was battle of the night. I felt like it was extremely close between the 2 of them for performance of the night. And it was my battle of the night as well, battle of the year, as well, Koj versus Gem. So I think that battle was incredible. You can't deny, I mean, he obviously got the judged win. I know people will debate it online, but you can't deny that he took 2 rounds at least. Some people have it all 3. I personally loved Gemini's second round very much, so I couldn't give him all 3. But he was the first person to defeat Gemini. So For that basis alone, I could not justify putting Gemini above him on this list. But I'm not mad at any of you that have. Not at all. I get it. He also 3-0'd Rivers, who was actually great outside of the choke in his third. It was, again, a Manchester crowd, kind of a little off a little bit. I don't know what's going on with Manchester crowds recently. We're having our season in terms of being not off season, and London crowds are way overtaking us right now. I say us as if I'm a Manc, but I do live up here. But the battle overall was very good. Incredible watch back. Had some of my favorite moments in that battle. Still didn't cut the stream. I still think about that randomly. I'll be washing dishes and lose my mind over nothing because it just pops into my head. So yeah, I thought that was a really good battle, really good showing from Koj. And then, of course, Real Sick. Now, I will say that Real Sick is my current number 2 in the world. And Koj didn't look out of place battling Real Sick. And I think that was incredibly important for me. I know we all joke about the whole mirror match thing, but Koj did not look out of place on that stage with Real Sick. And I think that's a really, really important thing to note. I think he took the second round as well from Real Sick. I did have Real Sick beating him. No, it wasn't judged. To be off our own, sort of judging of it. But I did think that he comfortably took that second round. And I also think he got the moment of the battle in the third round, which he didn't even win, with the whole giggity bar. So for me, I feel very comfortable putting Koj in at number 1. But like I said, as I was writing the list, it was difficult. It was a tough time for me. So yeah, number 2, I had Gemini, another one with 4 incredible showings, obviously with Koj, Rivers as well, Coffee Brown and Quill for the title on Don't Flop. My rounds of the year, which you can see there, is Gemini, similar to, the same as Shrubs, is Gemini's second round versus Koj. I just thought, my goodness. I mean, he obviously lost the decision, his only battle that he's lost, but he had an outstanding performance. And again, it was Battle of the Night and my personal Battle of the Year. He had an incredible back and forth with Rivers and got the judged win for this season. He put on a masterclass in battle rap, in my opinion, versus Coffee Brown on Plug 4. So obviously he was supposed to headline the pre-party, but it made perfect sense for that battle to be on the main day. It was amazing. Coffee put on a real show, and Jennn looked like a superstar right next to her, and actually won in most people's view. So I love to see when internationals come over, especially Americans. Americans are known for being extremely performance heavy. It's one of the things that a lot of people will say Americans have over UK battlers. They always credit UK battlers with content, with bars, but they credit the Americans overall with performance. They're always known to be very electric, especially when they're coming overseas and having to put on for a different fan base. So I think for Gemini to look like a superstar next to her is incredibly important. And yeah, well, I don't need to sell you on why Gemini's at the top, but this is my reasoning. Of course, he won the Don't Flop title as well versus Quill with a Battle of the Night. I was watching it live. I thought it was Battle of the Night. I think he had Performance of the Night and a potential, I'm not mad at anyone, having this as a Battle of the Year performance as well. Right, now here's where it gets a little bit sticky for me, because I feel like on reflection, my number 3 is Bizzo. On reflection, he probably should be in 5th, okay? If we're focusing on impact, I think impact was one of the most, like I said earlier, one of the most important things for me when I was making this list. And if we're focusing on impact, he probably should be in 5th. But I feel comfortable having him where I have him. I haven't got a choice, but because he didn't lose the judge battle for 2023. I don't think you can be mad at me placing him highly on a list if he didn't lose the judge battle. He is the reigning champ. He's extremely professional. He's retained that title this year. I don't think you can be mad at him being this high. So he had 3 great showings. He had the Yunnan battle, of course, Bobby Rex and Lou Castro. So he had a judged win against Yunnan. I know that it was contested, but it did put a lot of the title belt noise to rest, I think, which is fair to say. And of course, it was Battle of the Night for that event as well. He had a brilliant battle with Lou Castro. He didn't look out of place on the big stage, even though Lou Castro is an electric performer, again, a superstar performer from the States. He didn't win, in my opinion. It wasn't a judge battle anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I think he put on a great show for the day. And, of course, the title match, he had a judged win and retained that title versus Bobby. And it was Battle of the Night for that. I think it was match day 5, I want to say, the Manchester event. Yeah, so he had Battle of the Night there. I thought it was great. Like I said, he's a consummate professional, the reigning champ. I don't think anyone could be mad at him being placed highly on this list. But
Can I quickly just say, because I forgot to mention when I was talking about Bizzo, I just wish he had one more battle this year.
I hear that.
I feel like he needed one
really
more.
Just interrupted Linda.
I'm sorry.
By the way, while you're killing it, Linda, let me just say what I forgot.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I welcome it. And I agree, by the way, though, Trubs. I do think, like, it does feel like if we had, like, just one more something stand out. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You got the floor.
All right. So in at number 4, I have the Bobby Rex, Big Bobby. Another one with 3 battles for 2023. So we had 3 great showings against Frankie Fraser, Bizzo Bond, and Yunnan for the rematch. I thought he had a massive moment with the echo chamber bar against Frankie. That was a massive standout moment for me. Obviously had a judge win for this season, and it was an unbelievably electric performance against Frankie. I'm so sorry. I was stood there. I love Frankie. I'm usually biased in favor of Frankie, whatever I'm watching. And I'm stood there behind the DJ decks in Brixton Jam going, holy shit. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good. I just thought Bobby just did it amazing. I've mentioned this on Spaces before, so if you've been on Twitter, you probably know this already. But there were some newbies to the event on that particular day. And there were 2 girls stood behind me. I'd spoken to them briefly before the battle. This was their first event. They were having a good time, enjoying themselves. And at one point, Bobby says something about being a big dog to Frankie. And I kid you not, these 2 girls, 2 fans that are very new to battle rap, barked behind me. And that's just a testament to Bobby's electric performance. Like, you can't deny it. You can't deny what Bobby does on the stage. That man raps. Like, it's as if it's not enough for him to be showing off his rapping ability. He also has to just be such an enticing performer and really pull you in. And to have 2 girls that were going to their first event that day bark when you dog, that's all I have to say for Bobby Rex. Of course, he had an incredible title match that, even though it was a loss for him, was heavily contested. I think a lot of people on Watchback especially were watching it going, listen, this could have been low-key debatable, not to take anything away from the current champ at all. And yeah, he had extremely well put together material for the rematch with Unanimous. It was, for me, I think the difference watching the 2 of them, and I don't care if I catch flack for this, but I think the difference between watching the 2 of them, yes, Yunan had bars. There's no debating, right? But I feel like Bobby also had bars, but it was all very cohesive. It made sense. It all went together. It was fire content and an outstanding display of his rap ability. That man stood there I swear he was wearing like a little bucket hat situation, and he was just on this stage, comfortable as ever, being the guy from down the road that just happens to be one of the most talented people you'll ever meet in your life. And I love watching performances like that, especially on a stage at Plug 4, when you have these superstars coming over. They have their own way of really showcasing what they can do, and so does Bobby. He just has his own style. You can't copy him. He hasn't copied anybody else. Extremely talented and more than deserving of number 4. Would have been higher if it wasn't such a crazy year for battle rap in the UK. Number 5, I had Quill. Again, upon reflection, should have been in 3rd. So these are the 2 I would have swapped. I would have put in Quill in at number 3, Bizzo in at number 5, if we're just focusing on impact. But obviously I have to stick by what I've written, and I'm not too mad at it because Bizzo had all judged wins and Quill had some judged losses for the year. He had 5 battles this year. So he had Visual, Marlo, Gemini, Thesaurus, and a 1-rounder with Sean Cray. He had an incredible battle with Visual. It was a clear win, though it does look a little bit closer on watch back than it felt in the room. But I think that's a testament to his performance ability. This man was performing his ass off, doing magic tricks and doing up silly things, but still had the content right there. It wasn't like you could say, oh, well, he's just doing this to cover up for not having the lyrical ability. He absolutely did. Impeccable crowd control. Like I said, he just sucked the air out of the room. So a lot of the time I wasn't even listening to what Visual had said, and I was stood right there on stage. So it was only until watch back that I was like, oh, this is that, Visual said some shit. Like, this is actually closer than I thought. So yeah, it was a great battle to watch. One thing I remember with his battle with Marlo was that he had a couple of amazing mid-round freestyles, really showing off his skill to the Liverpool crowd. Did have a judged loss, but I think all in all, it's a great showing for Quill. He had, of course, the Don't Flop title match and a Battle of the Year contender with Gemini. Had some great material, even though, again, he did lose the title. I thought that he did put on a great show for the fans. He had a brilliant showing against the Saurus for Don't Let the Label You in Berlin. And obviously the one rounder with Sean Cray. I didn't watch that one, so I didn't really add it into my estimation. I've heard good things. I've heard it was fine. But yeah, the main thing for me was probably professionalism as well as impact for Quill, because, yes, he's the former Don't Flop champ, but he was really flying the flag for Don't Flop the entire year, like even longer. But if we're just talking about 2023, I feel like he was carrying Don't Flop on his back. He wouldn't let us, when I say us, I don't necessarily mean me, but like, all of us, the fans of UKBR, he would not let us think that, Don't Flop was going anywhere or should be any lower in our estimations in terms of what's going on in the scene. And I think he pretty much did that single-handedly for most of the year. So yeah, Quill number 5. These are a lot shorter, don't worry. So Reverse in at number 6. Had 5 impressive showings against Crow. He had the win there. Frost wasn't for the season, but it was a win. Georgie Roots win. Loso, which was a last-minute rounder, probably his most impressive feat for the whole year. I think it was incredibly impressive that somebody who's relatively a newcomer could come along and just be hanging on the stage with Loso, or in the pit, I guess. It was kind of a pit. With Loso, and just show off his ability like that and be that comfortable. I thought it was incredibly impressive. Then, of course, he had Lazy at the plug, which was a good battle and much closer on cam than it felt in the room for me personally. I thought Lazy had just, taken that, and then I watched it again. I was like, actually, no, much, much closer. In at number 7, I had Unanimous. So he had 5 great showings with Bizzo Bond. Obviously lost that one for the season. He won the Mackenzie battle. I know you guys already said about the Jinx battle not really counting because it was a major robbery, but it was a loss on Iron Bars. Had a great performance. Watched that live at Ask Cracker Dawn on GTX against Fredo. And then, of course, his Bobby Rex battle. Again, I actually thought he had some really great bars, some great punchlines. I just personally felt a lot of Bobby's were more cohesive, but it doesn't take away from the fact that his punches were there. His energy was there. My man was wearing a dungaree, to show us that he's been in the gym. So yeah, I think it's been a good year for Yunan. Can't wait to see what he does. But I think number 7 for me personally is where he sits. I'm not mad at anyone putting him a little bit higher, but for me, 7 made sense. All right, so 8, 9, and 10. I thought I'd do a little something different slightly, because I was thinking about the overall top 20 when I was doing 8, 9, and 10, because I pretty much thought first 7 in varying orders would be the same for pretty much everywhere across the scene, right? I wanted to do something a little bit different for 8, 9, and 10 because I just wanted to make sure that these spots went to people that I felt should be on the overall top 20. Obviously, it meant I missed out on some people in the process, such as Crow, Visual, Shuffle T, Georgie Roots, who ended up being my honorable mention. People like that, because I would hope that other people's votes would solidify their spots, if I'm being honest. And it's not because I didn't heavily enjoy their performances in 2023, not because I didn't rate them. I actually think a lot of them did excellent. But for me, I couldn't let these 3 at least if I had whatever I had control over, which is just my own list, couldn't let these three just kind of go unmentioned. So in at number 8 was Gas Buff. Obviously, we talked about this already. 10 battles this year, the most viewed in the UK against Anderson Burris right now. And I just think he's had consistent performances all year. Consistency has been something that I think is really important now that we're coming out of this kind of era of COVID and of, you know, the same people being outside. When you have more and more people outside, when you have OGs coming back outside, when the level of competition is really high, a lot of people who came in at a time when it was a bit quieter in the scene will have to be consistently good. And I think that Gas Buff has pretty much done that. Obviously, there's going to be one-offs here and there, but if we're talking about 10 battles, pretty much overall, he's been pretty consistent. I also watched him live, even at Afterlife. I watched him live in Afterlife, dressed as a whole fucking clown. And it was one of his best ever performances. And I remember being in the crowd going, do these men know that this is a joke event? Because why have you brought bars to Afterlife? Like, they were killing it, both of them, but especially Gas Buff. Yeah, I didn't feel right not including him in this list. I'm glad that somebody else had done as well. So, yeah, Gas Buff in at number 8. In at number 9 is Dojo. I put Dojo in because I felt it's only right, if I'm going to say that he is my newcomer of the year, it's only right to give him a spot on my own personal top 10 in the hope that he is also considered for top 20 overall. He had 5 battles in his first year of battle rap, including one on PBI. And I just feel like he had great progression in a very short space of time. He had, for me, the stand-up performance for me in the year was the 2 flips that he had when he was up against Lord Bentner on Short Circuit. I thought that was impressive, man. That man is getting comfortable so quick. So quick. And I love to see it. I love when newcomers do that. When people are new in the game and they start looking super comfortable, giving dynamic performances, doing up flips and rebuttals and whatever else, I love it. I think it's a good sign of the competitive nature and of their potential as well, because you have to have some kind of skill set to pull from to be able to do certain things when you're new in the scene. So I had Dojo in at number 9. And then at number 10, for similar reasons, is RX Southside. I thought Riss was great. He had 7 battles this year. Great progression considering he only started in 2022. Again, feels very comfortable in battles already. I remember that when I was watching his Giz battle in Manchester, even though, you know, he was quiet in certain parts, I loved that he showed that he could be quite dynamic in his performance with the way that he delivered certain materials. So for me, I like seeing that in the new guys. I wanted to make sure my 8, 9, and 10 were people that would hopefully I could help in some way get into the top 20, because I think it would be a shame if they didn't. And that's my top 10. So as I mentioned already, battle of the year for me was Kojay versus Gemini. I haven't watched a battle more than that, considering I was in the room. I've rewatched it an insane number of times this year. Round of the year was Gemini second in that same battle. Newcomer of the year was Dojo, and my honorable mention goes to Georgie Roots.
Wow, okay.
What?
All right, so now who all was gasping when it first came up on the screen? Talk shit.
I was.
Of course you were, Cammy. Come on, talk to me.
The breakdown was absolutely fantastic, and I really respect having the 8, 9, 10 and being like, okay, it doesn't have to be the guys that are, you know, let's push the newer guys as well, because they've also done really well and pushed along. Obviously, you think of Viz and whatnot, and as you already said, that they're probably names that could fit into that 8, 9, 10 spot, because that's the 3 names in particular that caught my eye. But to ask then, if my only thing, I would have had Dojo as my rookie of the year. I love Dojo. He's an amazing guy. But it felt to me that after the maybe the Rudy battle or the Lord Bentner battle, there was just a gap of nothing, because he was booked for free will and it never happened. So if he was given free will, that sounds like a crazy sentence, would you have had him higher than Gas Buff?
Look, I think I'm one of these people, and I remember it sounds off topic, but it's not, I promise. I remember being on a space before Reverse and Georgie Roots battled, and I remember there being a bunch of rappers in there talking to me about how it's a guaranteed win for Georgie because Georgie is a rapper, like a rapper, right? And I was arguing down as best as I could that anything can happen on any given day. So for me, with battle rap, literally anything can happen on any given day. Your favorite, who has been top tier for 20 years, it's not even that old, but you understand what I'm saying, for 20 years, could go and lose to a complete newcomer because anything can happen on battle day. So for me, I don't like to lower people in my own personal ranking if battles fell through, battles didn't happen, because I can't gauge what the hell would have happened. If he had gotten free will and he 3-0'd free will, maybe. If he had gotten smoked by free will, maybe he wouldn't have made the list at all. There's absolutely no way of knowing unless I've got the material in front of me.
I mean, Shuffle would have been higher if he had the 2-on-2 with a Wood versus.
That's exactly.
You could
Institution. There were some things that fell out. Exactly. Things that fell through on Institution, things that fell through on other cards throughout the year. Like, we don't know. So for me, I was really focused on making sure, this is why I said impact was a really big one in particular for me in terms of metrics, because impact doesn't just mean impact on the scene. That's a part of it. But I really took it personally. Like, impact for me when I'm in the building, what do I go and watch back on YouTube? Like, what did I really feel, you know, showcased UKBR in a certain light? And I think I felt comfortable with putting, while I know people might disagree, I felt comfortable with my 8, 9 and 10 being these guys who I really hope will get some shine in a year where I feel that they really put in a lot of effort in the things that did happen, in the battles that did occur, in a year when they really should have been knocked out of the top 20 and never to be seen from again. Do you know what I'm saying? With all the people that came out, they really put in effort. And I think that this was a way of me giving flowers, not because I think that Gas Bath is above Shuffle T. We're not, do you know what I'm saying? It's more about, if I'm thinking about what's happening in 2023, if I'm thinking about the overall top 20, if I'm thinking about who most fans are going to vote for, the same old names that people are going to vote for, I want to make sure that certain people who really did give it their all this year get some flowers too.
I think as well, it's quite interesting. For me, it was between RX and Dojo for Newcomer of the Year, personally. And I think it's something that Dojo did really well was obviously Short Circuit was a new thing that came in 2023. And I think he really flown the flag for that event series. And I think he made it, you know, he was a staple in it, if you know what I mean. And he's made it more than what it could be, you know, due to his performances, but also outside the ring as well. I know obviously in one of the battles he had the bet that happened and you know, all sorts of things like that as well. So yeah, I respect it. Yeah,
the bet was really impactful in the way that you've broken it down for yourself. And the only other question I was going to ask was the level of impact of RX Southside getting an battle, but the way that you put it down, impact in UK battle rap, yes, he had that battle, and it's for me, it's a big factor for me, but for yourself and for probably a lot of people, Dojo being active in the scene, compilations of the year, his journey, going highlight bars, being across Twitter and social media and whatnot, that is impact. So you answered that question in your first one already.
And just on that point, again, just to explain that impact bit a tiny bit more, if you think about it, when Short Circuit started, Dojo started, right?
Yep.
And when you look how when you look how Short Circuit has grown in and of itself, just as an event, right? As an event, when you look at how it's grown and how you have people having conversations about Dojo having graduated, something that's grown exponentially, that only goes to show that he has grown exponentially. So for me, I felt that was the thing that would put him just above RX Southside, because yes, RX obviously got the as you mentioned, the international look, but for me, I think that's the right placement for me personally.
I battle have a look at what Dojo's doing in 2024. I think that's I'm manifesting it, but I think that'll happen.
I'd love to see it, man. Fly him out.
Can I say I we have a very different list, but I totally respect your list and how you've broken it down. And like you said, like these things are our opinion, and especially those last places, impact is always very important. These are the things that, and like you said, what lasted with me. Those are, you know, you can have a great battle, you can have a great name, you can be a great name, battling a great name, and the battle goes in a blip, and at the end of the year we're saying, oh damn, I forgot that even happened. Whereas you've got newer names who are, you know, who are having that lasting impact, and I love that you've given them a shine. You've broken down your list very well.
I feel like in a year when it was incredibly competitive, they didn't let me forget them, so I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
that's a great way of putting it.
Very true.
Chubbs is gone now, so we'll keep talking.
Just a free.
I was going to ask your honourable mention with Georgie. I was going to ask what was your kind of thinking behind that.
I think
Georgie is someone that kind of slipped off my radar this year a little bit.
Yeah, I think which is interesting because I think he just got back on my radar this year because I feel like he had a tough time, and like he was put in front of a lot of people he wasn't ready to stand in front of.
Definitely.
And that tarnished his name to no fault of his own. It tarnished his name. And I think this year was a very good, I liked seeing him back out this year and really just being more, I feel like, and I don't know if this is true of him, this is just my perception, I feel like he was a bit more self-aware in the battles this year. I think he showed up and was trying to really put on something for everyone and not be, obviously he had his swag and he had his little ego, you know, talks and stuff like in the bars, which everyone should have. I absolutely encourage. But I feel like he took things quite seriously this year. And I thought, you know, it deserves a little shout out. I couldn't quite find a place for him in my list, but it deserves a shout out for sure.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Georgie was one of them guys I personally felt like he needed one more battle on the bigger cards as well. I feel like he needed to be a part of either Don't Flop Institution or Plug. I feel like he needed to be a part of that weekend or one of them big cards. I feel like he needed to be a part of the big cards. One more. But yeah, I felt like Linda's list was very obviously a bit different towards the end from a few of us, but at the same time, she's like she came with explanations and justified it very. She took accountability straight away. Look, I know I could have had visual. I know I could have had. So she's laid it out on the table where we don't even have any more questions. You know, like that. Like you explained it.
We can understand why you've ranked people where you've ranked them based on your opinions, because this is all opinions. And sometimes it's when people's opinions don't match up with, you know, what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And, you know, you put one opinion against the other and you can catch a bit. You're consistent. It's solid. We understand it. It's respectable. You know what you're talking about. You've watched all the battles. You've done the work. Argue with your dog.
This is my top 10. This is my TED Talk. So I'll start off with Gemini. Gemini obviously had an amazing year, like a focused year, kept on battling, consistent performances, never slacked at all. And having the Koj loss is about the only loss that he has on his record. And whether that's a loss for him, that's a Battle of the Year contender. And everything else for him was a win, plus attaining the Don't Flop title, which was a year in the making. Since the start of the year, we heard rumbles that this was going to happen. So the fact the build-up equated to a big win in a debut, well, not debut, but a return to Don't Flop as its comeback as well to instantly take the title. For me, that takes the win. But like Gemini, Koj, I think we knew the top two was going to be in contention no matter what. The only reason that Koj is below is the judge loss for Raptor. Like, real sick. He did a great performance, but he did choke in the first. There was a big stumble, and I have to take chokes into consideration. But the Raptor loss, I don't think he needed the battle personally. You could have had someone else. I totally get that Raptor was leaving and they had their own build-up. But in having their own build-up, Raptor kind of took advantage of it. Totally understand it was different in the building. or at least however judged it, but it was a judged loss in the end, and I have to take it for what it is. Bizzle for me is at third because Bizzle kept the champion standard. He kept up, like, whether he was like having as many battles. I think he was meant to headline a match day 4, but that didn't happen in general. Like, it wasn't his fault then battles didn't happen. But for him, every battle he came in swinging, and he kept up the same standard that he had from before. Yunan's was a big return to battle rap, a really big return, highly anticipated for Premier Battles to have him in the league, especially in that match in particular. Not a title match, and the ending how it ended, a great battle. I have to give Bizzle credit for that. In the Lou Castro battle, now I thought Lou Castro won, but I have I have quite a few Americans who message me watching the battle saying Bizzle obviously won, right? It's like, no, to us, Lou Castro won, and they're seeing it a different way. So I had to consider how others perceive the battle too, going back, and it's a very 50-50 battle. It could be a win for Bizzle on the replay. Number 4 for Bobby Rex. I think Bobby has one of the, like, as we spoke about before with Frankie Fraser and the body, like that at Brixton Jam, like, it was Frankie Fraser so hard to body for any battle rapper, and the way that Bobby did it was a typical Bobby standard, but just incredible. The Bizzle battle was just Bobby as amazing as he could be, but Bizzle just edging him but Bobby, especially the second round, coming out swinging. Now, with the Yunnan battle, I thought in the building Yunnan won, but I watched it back and felt Bobby won pretty clearly, which is why I swapped between the two. Because originally I had Yunnan at 4-3-ish, and then I just went, I think he lost to Bobby Rex and put him down. Now, Yunnan obviously had an amazing year. The Jinx battle was a loss, but as we said, we've kind of not really played that in. I thought he smoked Fredo, personally. I think he smoked them quite clear. Just Yunnan having an amazing year in general. Just needed credit for that. But the last little battle of the year for Bobby, I think he didn't quite close the chapter for his year as well as he wanted to. Little conflicts that go on here and there. But going on to the other side, Reverse. I've never seen a battle rapper with such an incline of talent in a year. Reverse is just an amazing talent, put in so much effort, beating Crow, beating Georgie Roots, beating Frost. Considering he's only been 18 months, a massive incline. And then just at the very last minute with the Lazy battle. And we need to give a lot of credit for Reverse in the 48-hour battle with Loso, because not many of us would have came out with that sort of debatable battle with Loso. Loso's one of the greats. So the fact that Reverse in 48 hours stuck toe-to-toe with him, the line connected, that's how you get a horse to wind his neck in, like a highlight moment for him, to me, was incredible. Now, I've got Crow at 7, but this is because I feel that the Mackenzie battle that he had was a battle of the year contender. I feel that how they went, and Crow, who struggled versus Reverse, had the choke, and then he came back in a heroic story for the year. And we need to look at people's journeys. Where were they at the start of the year, and where did they end up? And I think that after having what was not a great performance versus Reverse, I think we could be honest with that, and then coming back, Mackenzie, Frost, close battle with Georgie Roots, main event, and then Emerson Kennedy, that I give credit to a body, which is why I question the Probs on it. I give a lot of credit to that personally, especially when that was meant to be a big highlight moment. Even if Emerson Kennedy wasn't him, he wasn't, and I love it. Emerson Kennedy is my favorite battle rapper, so it pains me to say that he got bodied the way he did, but I feel that was really clear. Crow, he's just a man. That's what it is. 8 for Quill. Quill is at number 8 because I have to consider the losses. Marlowe was a loss. And then I have to consider that even though he did great, there was a stumble and a choke for a battle that he built up for a whole year, from the start of the year to the end of the year, and then lost. High stakes performances, high stakes battles, high stakes rewards, and it's quick falls. But that isn't to say that Quill did not bring the energy the whole year. I think Quill's performance versus Visual, to me, his first round is round of the year. The way that everything built up from the Bizzo and Yunnan battle, there was a story, and we followed that, and Quill executed that story. He got to the point, he wasn't happy, and you could see he performed angry and performed for the crowd and showed Visual at the time something that I don't think Visual had seen often, like a performance-heavy battle rapper. So Quill did everything that he could in that moment there, but I think the Gemini's loss is the reason why I put him quite a bit lower than some battle rappers. 9 for Visual. Visual, he did everything that he could for the year. The loss versus Quill after the build-up, as I've already said, that was a bit of not a bad loss for him because he did what he could, but we all walked away thinking Quill just beat him very clearly. We all walked away with it. Visual knew it at the time. We was all there to see it. But Viz had got the Black T 1-rounder that he did really well in, the Raptor performance, the Briggsy performance. Visual came back after that Moke performance as well and done really, really well there and didn't look out of place for the season and battled like he needed to prove something. And he definitely did. And as we've said, want to see Visual moving up, doing more. And the last one, the name that I've not seen yet, and I guess it's a personal bias for me, Mackenzie this year has been cooking. He has been cooking this year to me, whether it's been taking on Kingsley Thunder at the start of the year, who was coming off of the Academy hype, first event against Pride. Nobody was having Mackenzie win. So as soon as Mackenzie did win and showed a little bit of a difference, Kingsley had to come back, recoup, and go again, because Kingsley was talking a lot that he was going to clearly beat Mackenzie. Then Mackenzie has the Yunnan battle. The Yunnan battle was, if not a really close battle, right after having the situation with Bizzo coming back saying, I need a victory, and Mackenzie fighting him in the middle of the battle. Great battle. I recommend anyone to go back and watch that. And then Crow versus Mackenzie, like in that event, match day 3, that was battle of the night, if I'm correct in saying. Like, that was a Crow's performance, Mackenzie's performance was very much talked about. Highlight moments in there. Obviously, there was a bit of a gap in the middle, but at the end of the year, he went up against Raptor in my local city, and he put in work. And again, so you have to consider, for Don't Flop, it was, I guess, the Scottish division.
I swear Mackenzie Raptor was last year. Was the year before?
Mackenzie Raptor.
Oh, Raptor. Okay, yeah, I thought you said Raptor. My bad.
No, my apology. Raptor at the end of the year, like in having an Irish versus Scottish battle rap event with 2 leaders of their sides going against each other and having Mackenzie come out as a winner, again, to me, is quite impressive. Before I go on any further, is there anything needing to talk about here?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. You mentioned about Quill's year, that you took into consideration the losses.
Yeah.
So you've put him at 8th.
Yes.
But the people that he lost to compared to the people that, say, Crow lost to are very different standards of people. And also, like, Yunnan lost more battles than he won this year as well. So I was just thinking the rationale between that, I just got a bit fuzzy to me.
Okay.
And you gotta explain it properly, my friend. Otherwise, you get questions.
I'm here for the talk. I think Quill and Crow are 2 different level of tiers of battle rapper. Crow battled who he could battle in his own tier, and Quill battled who he battled in his own tier. There wasn't a big jump to say that, okay.
Yeah, but you said you have to take in consideration the losses when it comes to Quill. About him being so low because he lost to Marlowe and he lost to Jennn, which is a title match, and that's Jennn and that's Marlowe. Yeah. But with Crow, you don't take in consideration the losses when he lost to Reverse and Roots, and level of competition is a thing.
I'm also, what I meant also as well is what I meant as well is how they lost. Like, for example, like Quill losing to Marlowe, I don't feel like that lowered his stock as much as Crow losing the way that he did to Reverse. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, but with that being said, then the way that Quill lost to Gemini in the third round, does that not lower Quill's stock as well? Your highlight.
I don't think you lowered his stock. Nah, I don't think you lowered his stock. Nah,
It was
it was
an insane title match, battle of the year contender between two of the best that UKBR has to offer. Like and it's incredibly impactful, very talked about. It and it was a close battle. It was a really close battle.
Yeah, and
if I put our card today saying Quill's headlining it, you're not gonna get mad about it because it's still Quill. My point is his stock doesn't get lower because you lost to the person that you have as number one in the country. It's Gemini.
So Quill is also of a higher tier anyway. That's a standard that's set for the last 3 years, 4 years. Quill is his name. Quill is Quill. When you set up a battle and you go, I'm going to beat you, you tell the guy you're going to beat him all year and you bring it all the way up and then you mess up in the third round, I think that hurts a lot more.
I just want to argue that point, Cammy. I feel like every battler talks about how they're going to beat whoever they're going to battle next.
You can say the same about Gemini with OJ.
But battlers lose. It happens. So I think the issue is that, like, you mentioned Quill's losses and the reason why he's been brought down to 8, but you have Crow above him and you have Yunnan above him, because you were mentioning that the difference in tiers between Crow and Quill. What about Yunnan and Quill?
So for Yunnan and Quill, obviously we consider the Jinx loss, and as we already said, the Jinx loss is a debatable loss, whether we count it or not.
No, it's a robbery, right? It's a robbery. It's not a debatable loss, right? We have to respect when there's a judge's decision, but every now and again there's a decision. There is a judge's decision that is so flawed that we acknowledge it, yes, but we say that one the judges absolutely got wrong. That's one of them, right?
We don't judge that one as well.
Bizzo and Yunnan, debatable, but Bizzo got it. It's not a robbery. Don't call that. This one is different. We can put that in a different section, a rare one where we can actually say yes, unanimously, no pun intended. This was a robbery, and we got to ignore the judges because I don't know what they were on.
Okay, so we're ignoring the judges then.
We're not. No.
Did you not hear all the context I just gave, all the preamble, all the disclaimers? Like very rare decisions where we can say yes, this was a judge decision. However, it wasn't just a debatable. It wasn't just highly contested. No, they flat out, objectively got it wrong. There were. Sometimes you go with some really shit judges who are in the building or who are heavily biased or who have no integrity, whatever. I'm not speaking to those specific judges, but sometimes judges get it completely wrong. And it's a pretty unanimous, again, agreement that this was outright wrong. And this is one of those cases.
And we're talking about the Jinx battle here, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Jinx battle being then, as said, something that I think we're agreeing that wasn't a right decision, but he gave the judges vote. So having Yunnan over Quill is because of that we say that whether that battle happened, like they said Jinx won, most of us believe that unanimous won. So we
I understand that point, Cammy. The point I was bringing wasn't that Yunnan was above Quill for you in your list. Is that Yunnan is so much further above Quill in your list. When the considerations you were making for Quill being at 8 don't make sense when you have people above him where the consideration should have been the same or parallel.
Crow too as well, because he also has the 2 judge losses. I think Reverse too as well, right?
Yeah, I specifically mentioned Yunnan because when people were mentioning Crow, you were talking specifically about tiers and people, you know, battling people in their own tier. Well, Yunnan battled Bizzo. and he lost on paper.
Okay.
So my it's just I'm trying to understand that reasoning of Quill losing to people that were in his tier, which I completely understand is a fair point in what you're saying, but that being your only for putting him 8 after the year that he's had 8 feels harsh.
And I disagree totally with because it's a different tier.
With the tier thing, right?
Nah, man. Like you gotta apply the same method. Like that's certain. When I made my list, I made the list that I thought was gonna be off top of my head of what I preferred, and then when I went and looked at the criteria of judge losses, prefer everything, I'm like, yo, I had to change a couple things here. And that's to me, that's just the fact. Once you start fine tuning things, you can't say Quill had 2 losses, and because he promoted them, as he done his job by promoting the battle and then losing the battle, one of them being a title match. Like number one, we should be promoting battlers to be promoting battles more. That's number one, because they don't promote enough. Number 2, the same method of he had 2 losses versus the people you have above would have lost against them too.
And it wouldn't be such a fight. Like, we wouldn't be so into it if they didn't promote, if you didn't have 2 of these top guys saying, I'm gonna, he's not, you know, like, if they didn't promote as hard as they did, we wouldn't be so invested. Like, that's a huge thing. We can't, when you're battling at that level, someone's going to lose. Someone who had the potential to win, but like Linda said earlier on the day, lost. And this is not anyone can lose to anyone. This is one of the top lost to another one of the top. Like, we can't.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, go on, Danny.
I was just gonna say, like, if you take that kind of logic, then in this list of yours, Viz should go above Quill as well. Because in terms of like win-loss ratio, Viz's is better than Quill's for this year.
I'm not sure if I've got that written down as that. Okay, I'll have a look at that. Now, the only thing I would consider there, and I hear you guys about not considering like the tiers and whatnot. I hear that there is a part of me that has to consider someone's growth. Pause. That. When someone is I know, sorry, that was so instinctual. You know, so when you're at the top here, you are at the top. Where do you go further? When you're someone like Crow and you then make your way up the way, you have to be given credit for how far that you've gone upwards. Instead of being in a position, I'm already with the top guys, because if I'm with the top guys, therefore I'm always going to be at number 5. I'm always going to be at number 6. I'm always going to be in these places. But we need to give credit to those who are climbing as well, that where they were before to where they ended at the end of the year needs to be highlighted, that someone's journey to be the best battle rapper is validated, rather than I've done all this effort to be where I am now, but it doesn't matter because the guys on top of me face each other.
I get what you're saying. I get that, but also they've got to surpass those people, not just like, obviously if you were looking at it like a graph, right, or anything kind of like statistically, like Quill's linear will be higher than Crow's this year because of the level of opponent to like the standard of performance.
And so what he's doing,
he would have to come over. He would have to come over Quill in terms of that. Then, like, what is Crow like? And no disrespect to any of these guys, obviously, but what performance of Crow's outweighs even Quill's losses?
I think when we go through that logic, it's more if you consider who's round. So whether
who's what? Sorry,
someone's round. So I would tell you that Mackenzie's first round goes over Quill's third versus Gemini. So like Crow in first versus Mackenzie, Quill third versus Gemini. I would consider that and go, okay, someone's had a worse round at this point and it's affected them, and someone's had an amazing round at this point and it's affected them also. It's just the journey of a battle rapper and where they go.
Wait, which rounds did you pick? Which rounds did you pick?
I don't understand.
What are you even saying?
So what I'm saying at least is we need to consider the journey. That's what I'm considering.
I get that.
That's not what you just said with the round thing. That's so not what you just said. That's a completely different point.
This whole course segment got me confused.
What Mackenzie round are you talking about, Cammy?
So I was talking about Crow's first versus Mackenzie versus Quill's third versus Gemini, right?
But why are you picking Quill's third and not Quill's first, for example?
No,
I don't like that,
This is the point. This is the point. So
No, he's saying there is one round amongst every round. There is one round that may be better in his consideration.
Even that, you have to.
I just look at consider, and I go, that is effective. I look at Stumble and at the end of it, like, oh.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry.
My
brain won't let me leave it alone. Hold on, my brain won't let me leave it alone.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is Crow's first against because Crow's first against Miss Mackenzie, in your opinion, is better than Quill's third to Gemini. He should place higher than Quill, even though Crow would die in front of Gemini.
Oh, now. I realistically, I'm not.
And they laugh about girl math.
You guys
that's what I'm saying. Jen, I'm hearing boy math. I'm hearing battle
rap
math.
They laugh about girl. You can't even. It's not even battle rap math. Like it's a different. Like it's not adding up. Like I want to call it Cammy math. Like it's a whole because this is. Yeah,
it's not making sense. And again, this is absolutely no disrespect to anyone that we're talking about in any way, shape, or form. And I don't want it to be taken as such. I just want to understand how, like, if you're comparing rounds, then why are you not comparing opponents? So you're saying it's all about the journey when it comes to opponents, but you still want to compare rounds. I don't get it.
Lotus first versus Calico, when you put that versus Eunice versus Klutz, you see, because that's
you've also got to consider
the journey, but when it came,
you know what I feel like what's happening here, and I feel like I want to stop it right now. Cammy is in a hole. Yeah, I want to stop it. Cammy is in a hole, and he doesn't see any way out other than just to keep shoveling. Cammy, the way out is up there. It's up there. It's not down there. You don't need to just keep, shoveling and talking about the journey and the growth. And it's all about how you got there and not what you did at the end. Because you're talking about like to have Quill at 8 with the year that he's had, the level of opposition, his performances, the impact, the accolades, title match, battle of the year contenders. Really, yes, there's 2 judged losses, but like.
You also
can get those battles.
Your round of the year.
Round of the year.
Round of the year goes to Quill, but he's number 8. I just don't understand.
How do you get? How do you even get to get a title match? What has Quill done this year that would get him a title match with? Crow done this year, or Reverse done this year that gets them a title match with Gemini. But you're talking about third round versus Mackenzie versus,
if their rounds were so much better than Quill's rounds, then why is Quill your round of the year? Like, there's just so many questions.
If it's specifically Quill's third versus Gemini where he choked, conveniently not the round of the year versus visual.
And this is what I was going to try and say. Like, if you're going to compare rounds, you have to compare Quill's best round versus Crow's best round, not Quill's worst round versus Crow's best. Just what I mean.
Yeah. I think, and I'm like I said, I think I'm hearing you guys out about what we're saying about the rounds and whatnot. And for me, as personally, I just felt when you put higher stakes on a battle, then if you don't do it, it's higher drops as well. So I seen everyone say Quill third, and and I'm glad that Quill third, Quill fourth, Quill like in these higher spots. Like Quill is an amazing battle rapper. I'm not putting him in there to be like, oh, I don't think Quill's any good. I think Quill's one of the best battle rappers probably in the world, and has had some of the best performances as the round of the year for me for visual, because he set the standard. Just when you set yourself up for this as a top tier, the battles should mean more. So if you do lose to another top tier, to me,
But they're having top tier
Stop
battles. Though.
digging, Cammy. Stop
No,
digging.
man.
You're
I think
supposed
having top
to.
tier battles,
Stop
bro.
digging.
Having
You are
top tier
supposed
battles.
to. When you
No.
are in a title match, you're supposed to make it fucking count, right? You're
but
supposed to go up
Tell it.
there and act like you're the prize fighter, because this is the prize. This is the one of the biggest matches of the year. You're supposed to make people think you are going to see a fight. I'm saying I'm not going to lose. He's saying he's not going to lose.
Right.
We're selling the shit out of this thing because it's a title match and because it's supposed to mean something.
I feel like the explanation, like if Linda can explain better why Dojo and RX are in the top 10, like that you can for Quill being 8th, I think that speaks volumes. Do you know what I mean?
Fair.
But I think it's your explanation more than anything else. I just the inconsistency.
This is the thing, right, Danny? Because I don't think there's been much controversy in anybody's list because this is all opinion based. This is all opinionated. We're all, watching the same things, but judging on our opinion. But everyone's had reasonable rationale that is consistent, and yours just seems a little inconsistent and respectfully crazy to have Quill at 8.
My final point on this is we were just talking about how sick it is for top tiers to be outside, and the more top tiers are outside, the harder it is for the newer comers to actually make the top 10. So with that being said, if that's the case, we can't then drop points off someone losing versus the top 10 and then tell someone that lost versus their class. Well, he fought their class. No, they, impact of battles, level of competition, view count, being ticket sellers, all of that kind of stuff on the criteria matters, innit?
When I started doing my list, it became very clear that my top 2 was a given, but not the order. And then 3 to 6, again, was a given, but not the order. So my 1 to 6, I had very, very clear, and it was clear to me as soon as I started writing down battles, as soon as I started tallying numbers and wins and losses, titles, rankings, headlines, level of performance, there were 6 battlers who clearly stood out in terms of the level that they're putting out. In terms of every battle, you are consistently better than everybody else on this list. There's just a level that everyone else hasn't yet reached. You can have 50 battles in a year, you can win them all, but until you reach that level, you're not breaking through that top 6 for me, because that has to mean something. Being great, having great material, doing that against the best opponents, like these fights that these guys are having are that you can't, you're going to have to do a lot to break through that. And until you're doing the same thing, in my mind, you're not. When they're not dropping the ball, and for the most part, none of my top 6 have dropped the ball. You may have lost battles, you may have had judge losses, but you haven't dropped the ball. And for that, I can't put you any lower. Like, I'm just not going to, because you've done too much for you to earn that place. Gemini Koj, for me, was the obvious 1 and 2. There's no one else who gets that contention for me. But it was actually a lot closer than like I said, my 1 and 2 was certain, but I was pretty certain it was going to be Gemini until I really sat down and looked at all the battles. And one that was quite important to me was Koj Raptor, which was a really slept on battle in terms of the crowd and in terms of us as a scene. The material in that battle was really good. It was a good fight. The crowd was, Linda's talked about it, it's been mentioned, like crowds affect battles. They affect how we our viewing experience, how much we want to go back and watch it. When it's a lackluster crowd, when we can feel that the battlers are feeling that energy and they're feeling lackluster, they're having to fight and not winning either, it really has an unfair impact. But that's the luck of the draw. That's the way it goes sometimes, and you've got to do what you can to win the crowd. You can't blame the crowd, but that's the battle it was. However, I thought Koj was really, really good in that. I can't, downgrade him for he choked, right? That was, he had a choke and he lost the battle. So I'm not gonna, it's a fair loss. And that was one that kind of was a tipping point. You slipped up, you lost, and it was an underwhelming battle. The judge win against Gemini, I think Linda talked about it, Danny mentioned it, that is super impactful for me. That beating Gemini, and in the fashion, you didn't beat a sloppy Gemini. You didn't beat a Gemini when he's come back with 2 rounds. Gemini had all 3 rounds. He had all 3 rounds and he came to fight. You had a war with Gemini. Like, it was a beautiful, beautiful battle, and he had a sublime victory. I didn't think Koj was going to win that battle, and he did. And I loved watching the fight between the two of them. Like, it was amazing. But when it comes to Gemini, he's got the title match, an incredibly impressive title match. His whole comeback run, and particularly this year, I think has been incredibly impactful. The word impact, I think today has been used more with Gemini than anybody else, and it's undeniable. Gemini, again, when you talk about these top level guys, that level of material has to be a given. That's there. Gemini also brings a different level of something else, something that very few have, something that Shotty has. It's a level of showmanship. It's a level of aura. It's a level of understanding how to entertain, to do this thing so well that, you don't even realize what he's doing, but you're just loving it. Like, his all of his performances, the coffee one, the quill one, Koj, Rivers, phenomenal battle. Linda mentioned, that the coffee battle, seeing, and Coffee, international performer, real, like you say, the Americans are known for showmanship. Coffee had leveled up on her performance in that. I've never seen Coffee so, and it's obviously different when you're there watching her, especially live on stage. I can feel the intensity, but Coffee was intense and immense, and she is used to battling some, Geechee Gotti, T-Top, biggest names, biggest female and Gemini shown, he stood up, he fought, not just fought back, he held his own, and like Linda said, got the consensus for most people. The Quill battle, absolutely impressive title match. You can't speak more. That's exactly what you want from two of the best going at each other. They delivered to a high level. The win against Rivers, great battle, different kind of battle to some of the others, and a dominant performance in a really close fight. I can't argue my 1 and 2, and everyone had the same 1 and 2, right? I think so. Yeah, that was very clear to me, but it was closer. It was a lot closer because the both of them very high caliber. I didn't even mention, Real Sick, Koj, Rivers, phenomenal performances, but there were some slight things that edged it to Gem to me. Yunnan for me gets the 3rd spot because of his material, his performance, his consistency throughout. I think some people have mentioned, his professionalism. I didn't really consider that so much in terms of my list. He, you know, the GTX Battle International, he went and had a really good performance over there. I think a slept on battle, the crowd didn't really get him in that sense. But when you look at his material, when you look at how he delivered it, it was a really top notch performance at a time when, you know, he really had to show out, and he really did. The Mackenzie battle, phenomenal battle. Bizzo, it's a judged loss, an important battle, impactful, but Yunnan has said the win didn't matter so much to him. He came to kind of make a point, to make a statement, to send a message, and I think he really did that, and his material was amazing. The Bobby battle, the stage that it was on, the battle that we got from it, I give him the win for that. I think the consensus has him winning that. Bobby was amazing. So yeah, for me, Yunnan did enough in terms of level of competition, the impact, and the actual material that he did to get that third spot. Quill, for me, Linda, you'd mentioned you'd seen Thesaurus, the Thesaurus battle in Germany. Is that out? Is that on a Patreon? Because I thought that wasn't out. Or did you say you'd seen it?
I think I've seen clips from it, or I don't know if it's on Patreon, but I do remember seeing at least excerpts of it for sure.
Yeah, maybe I got that wrong, but for me, the fact that I can't see that.
I think
is it out on
comes out February. Yeah,
the fact that I haven't seen that.
Don't let the label you Patreon or pay-per-view of some sort.
I've definitely seen elements. I don't know if it was just clips taken from it. I don't think it's on behind a paywall that is available to us.
Okay, but yeah. It's not been seen, and I think that's a massive shame, because it's a huge accolade. Not only is it an international battle, it's against an international legend in Thesaurus, and like you said, by all accounts, he had an amazing showing. He's been invited. It's been an amazing showing, and so he's got 3 pieces of work, phenomenal pieces of work, but. So Yunnan, I've got 5 that I can look at, and they're all really good. Quill gets up there above the others because the 3 that he does have are top notch. You've got a title match against Gemini, one of the most talked about battles of the year, probably one of the most talked about title matches in, you know, Don't Flop haven't, certainly the only one that's really made this sort of buzz in recent years. The Marlow, yeah, it was a judged loss, but it was an incredibly close battle. Again, impact, incredibly impactful, visual early on in the year. But yeah, again, impact had everyone talking, did what he had to do. It is closer on the watch back, but he showed levels. He did what he had to do. He showed the best of who he is to a higher level. He had the moment with Shotty. It was class. He showed class. He, with only 3 battles that I've seen, deserves to be up there in my estimation. Bobby Rex. Hold on, I have to stick to my notes. Bobby Rex, again, 3 battles, next 2 people. Only 3 battles, so that's 3 with only 3. This is what I'm talking about in terms of quality. If you've only got 3 and those 3 stand out amongst everything that everyone else is doing, you're going to be up there in my rankings. Yunnan, Bizzo, Frankie, all great names, all great opponents. The Frankie win, absolutely phenomenal. Such a dominant performance, showing you the best of what he does and how he does it. I've got him with 2 losses, and he's still at my number 5. Wins and losses do absolutely matter, but again, when the best are battling each other, someone has to lose. Yes, 2 losses, but amazing performances. on the plug 4 against Yunnan, you know, really great showing and Bobby has impactful rounds, impactful moments, always memorable, did enough for me to get number 5. Bizzo at 6, when you look at his opponents again, Yunnan, Bobby, Lou Castro, all high level opponents, big stages, big performances. Bizzo, so in the last 2 years, he was number 1, right? He won Battle of the Year. I think he was my Battle of the Year last 2 years, and now he's dropped down to 6. I think even though he's got these high level of opponents, he's down here and not above some of the others because I don't think he's showing necessarily enough to take him past. Everyone's outside now and everyone's kind of really stepping up. Bizzo is an amazing battle rapper. He's an amazing champion. He has elevated so many levels, but I think he needs to unlock some performance values, not values. Sorry, I'm waffling now, but I think Bizzo really needs to show us something a little bit more. He needs to show us, especially against performers, you need to show us that you've got more than that standard delivery that you're giving us, and I think it kind of showed a bit this year.
Sorry, just to that point, Jen, I'm hoping that he gets to do that this year because he's got Jazz the Rapper coming up, so I'm hoping that he gets to actually show us that at an absolute. That would be nice. And
I think Bizzo is someone that's very self-aware. I don't think Bizzo rarely hears things that he doesn't, you know, he's not already aware of. He's very self-aware. And I think, you know, Bizzo has shown the ability to really learn some shit and master it. He's shown us he can do it time and time and time again. And I have absolute confidence that he can continue to do that. And it's not like being the best in the country for 2 years in a row unanimously. Like, do you know how fucking hard that is to do? Like, and to keep up that level, to keep up that pace when people want to knock you down a peg or two. Bizzo is in a position where it's like, okay, all right, yeah. Oh yeah, Bizzo again. Oh yeah, all right, yeah. Who else now? Like, so I feel, but yeah, Bizzo, I feel like Bizzo can really have an amazing 2024 and turn things around and get himself higher up there and really surprise some people if he does a few things. And I believe in him. Reverse number 7, right? So my top 6 was clear, right? And then I've got this page of everybody else who could potentially get in to those remaining 4 spots, and there's like 12 names or something, and there are arguments for each one. But again, I have to look at levels of performance, level of opponents, and then it became quite clear. The task was easier than I thought it was going to be. Reverse, where's my reverse? Okay, so level of opponent: Loso, Georgie Roots, Frost, Crow, someone whose name's come up in this conversation several times already. Frost, someone who's been in the conversation the last few years. Georgie Roots, likewise. And Loso, huge, you know, international renown and the circumstances surrounding that. One of the most impactful ones there for me was Loso. The Loso battle showed me a level of separation. He had a few days to do that, and yes, he was able to kind of use some of the material that he'd had for who was the opponent supposed to be? He was able to use some material, but what he did have and how he did it, the confidence that he did it, the aura that he had, and how he was able to kind of level up in such a short space of time showed me you're someone with really the potential to kind of go really far. And I know a lot of people had seen that in reverse, but I'd seen some ceilings potentially. And that battle really kind of shook that for me. Judge win against Roots, Judge win against Frost, Judge win against Crow. Like, if we're, you know, talking about beating the people in your class and some of those in the class above him as well, very consistent throughout the whole year. I think the lazy performance, a bit of a blip, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't the worst in coming off of the back of the surrounding battles. I think it was, he's had a really, really good year, and for me was the one outside of that 6 who kind of came closest to it. Going to Crow, similar level of opponents to Reverse, but I think Reverse kind of showed a little distinction to Crow. Crow didn't take some of the he had some more losses and didn't make the battles as convincing as Reverse did. And he didn't have a standout. Perhaps it, you know, really affected by the EK. If we had an amazing EK and he really had a fight there, he didn't get the opportunity to have the standout that Reverse did against Loso, because Loso was amazing. Absolutely. I thought Reverse lost, but it didn't matter. His stock elevated levels to me against Loso, even though I don't think he won, whereas Crow won absolutely clearly, but he didn't get that fight, like I said, with EK. The losses, the Judge losses hurt him, although he did have good showings. It was a really good year for me from Crow. I think in 2024 he can, depending on the opposition, give a little more and have a successful year. Visual, I was really impressed by Visual this year. Every showing, I think he was really consistent. He's got three wins. Are they most of them judged? I think Briggs, Raptor, Moke. One of them is the Irish title. He also launched Premier Battles in Ireland. I mean, it didn't turn out so well in the end, but these things are impactful. A title win in your country, in the league that you've launched, these things are impactful against, you know, it was a controversial win, but it was against a good opponent. It meant a lot to the country. The loss that he has is against Quill, someone who I've got at number 4 in the list. It wasn't one that he was supposed to win. He was supposed to have a good showing, and he really did that. The Black Tea battle, you know, 1 round, that's a bonus battle. It was nice that they did that. It was nice that they put that on for the fans. He won that, I think, but it doesn't lose him any points, and I'm not going to take anything away from it because it was a little bonus battle. Solid wins against Briggs as well. Yeah. Shout out Visual. I think it was a really good year. Georgie Roots, I've got him up there because I think he had a really good year, actually. I think Georgie in past years has been very vocal, has been very outside of his battles, has reminded you of exactly what he's doing and why he's where he is, and, you know, let you know why you should be a fan of his and why he's loud and he's proud. He hasn't been this year. He's let his battles do in the talk, and I think because of that, maybe he's been a little overlooked. And also, I think because No Loose Chat have been, their impact has been less this year. They haven't thrown many battles. They haven't been active with social media. Like, their presence this year or last year in 2023 has been far less than it was the 2 years prior. And I think the fact that Georgie had 2 big battles against Surfer and Tally over there, that impact was lessened because No Loose Chat aren't making the noise they was. They were really big battles. The Surfer battle, hugely impressive performance from Georgie. Tally, one rounder, a bit controversial in there. I think Georgie might have did some snaky shit, but still, his material undeniable. Crow, Judge win against Crow, took the loss against Reverse, but again, solid opponents, solid material. There's no one, when I look at everybody else, in terms of what you put out and who you battled, who I can put you in higher than Georgie Roots. Gemini versus Rivers as my battle of the year. There were a few from Gemini and from Koj particularly who could have taken battle of the year. This one just was my personal favorite. It was the one that the material resonated most with me. The fight was just the grittiest and the most intense. Two of them, at their best. I loved that. I loved everything about that battle. Although, like I said, there are other battles that are super up there. This, for me, Gemini Rivers was that one of 2023. Gemini second round against Quill. Gemini has a couple round of the year contenders for me again, but this one, the impact of it is what made it clear for me. There was no round with his mid-round rebuttal freestyle kind of did as much as this round, and I wanted to celebrate that. Newcomer of the year, there were two names, Dojo and Riss. It's already, Dojo's impact on Short Circuit, I think, has been well highlighted and well deserved. He came out with an absolute bang. That first battle so impressed me. I think was a very, for your first battle on a small card, it's not like you've got this huge card and to spotlight you. He really made some noise. He really made people like, okay, Dojo's battling. What's he doing? Let me take a look, because people are talking about it. So impressive. And then he carried on that consistency and did that throughout the year. Riss, I think, had the most impact by far of any of his class. He had as well. Where's my Riss resume? I can't see it. But he had the most battles as well, right? He did consistently well. Okay, so he had Caveman, Photo Boy, TKE, Whispers, Dub, Giz, and the International on iBattle as well. That's really big in your first year at a time when, people are really paying attention. People are looking into you because you've made that impact. Caveman, I think he really actually, the fact that battle isn't out there, it's like this mythical thing. You either were in the building or you weren't. It adds a little bit of extra mystery, but it was a really good performance. I think Riss offers something different. He offers a different flavor, his showmanship, his understanding of the stage, the crowd, the audience experience is something that's very natural. And I think he's got so much potential in this. And it was close between him and Dojo. But things like, the win over Whispers, that, like I said, I thought that was a battle that was very vocal. I wish this was happening later. Riss isn't ready for this. I don't think he's going to do well. And he went up there and absolutely cleared Whispers. He showed versatility against Giz. He showed, I can go up to Manchester without my London crowd, without my normal surroundings, and really be, showcase some new things as well, showcase humor, work on some things. I think he's, of the newcomer, he's the one that I'm most excited about, have the most potential. So yeah, Riss as newcomer of the year. I have no honorable mention because Trubs, yeah, he wouldn't let me do my honorable mention. But it's fair. It's fair because the honorable mention is one person, and I didn't want to single out one person. My honorable mention is everybody black. So our scene is an overwhelmingly white scene. I've rightly it's everybody black. Right?
Everybody black.
This is it. Because I'm not gonna unfairly discredit anybody, any artist, any rapper for the color of their skin. So I'm not going to take anyone out of my top 10 that thoroughly deserves to be there on some arbitrary basis. But what doesn't sit right with me without having an honorable mention for everybody black is having such a, overwhelmingly white list. We've got some super talented black battlers, black artists in this country, and I think for a long time that was overlooked. This is a new era, and I don't think that is the case. I think, in terms of the scene, there's some catching up to do, and I love to see so many active black battlers doing well, having great battles and winning fans over. You don't hear a lot of the narrative that used to be around a long time, and I'm here for it, and I think it's only going to excel. So yeah, I couldn't just have one honorable mention because just everybody black. But that's my list.
Hey.
I love that. Got to do it for American Black History Month as well. I'm here for it.
Yeah, for real. That's it. In February.
As a guest in the culture, I'm totally there to hear what you're saying and totally respect that. I think just as a natural cause of hip hop and battle rap and whatnot, the integration now, things are becoming more mixed and less about race now and more about talent, and I really respect that as a decision to be an honorable mention. Salute to everyone that's putting in work like that. So yeah, that's totally fine with me.
I love that you mentioned, Jen, the outlook of fans for a while there. It was starting to look a bit, how where, everybody black was kind of seen as gab battlers. I remember that being a thing back in the day.
A euphemism, right? How can that be a euphemism?
Yes, I know. I think I love that you mentioned that. I think that's a great point. I think sometimes it can get a little bit lost in the mix, and I love that you pointed it out in terms of your honorable mentions, plural. I can't hate on that. And I like your list, I really do like your list. Not just because a lot of the names on there are similar to mine, but because also you've made compelling arguments for your placements, for who you have included. Yeah, I can't really fault it, to be honest.
It's a good list. It is a good list. Really is. The one thing I would ask personally, Georgie Roots
waiting for you.
No, because my list is totally different. But the only thing I would ask is the Georgie Roots being at number 10. Now, I think Templar was a 1-rounder, right? Or am I wrong with that? Because then I'm totally wrong afterwards.
No, I think
it was 3 rounds, right?
Yeah, I think it was 3 rounds.
I think Surfer was 3 rounds.
My apology then.
And he properly battered him,
fair. Being honest, Templar battles when I was meaning to go back to and I didn't see, so I wondered if it was a 1-rounder or 3-rounder.
I do concede the fact of impact, I do concede the fact that it wasn't necessarily one that people were paying attention to. It wasn't one that made a lot of noise. Was I there? Fuck, how do I not know if I was there?
You probably will, Jen. You've been outside all year. You probably will.
It's been too long, Jen. That's why.
No, this is what sometimes I'll think I haven't seen a battle. Oh shit, let me go and check this one out. I haven't seen it, and then I'll watch it, and I'll be in the bloody thing. I'll be in not only have I seen it, I was there.
You stood next to the host.
You hosted it.
But yeah, I do think that in terms of impactful battles, Georgie didn't have the most impactful year, but part of that is because Georgie was quiet. If Georgie was vocal in ways that he had been in previous years, I think more people would be looking at those battles.
Georgie was going to be the name that I questioned as well, but after you explained that, it's quite evident that he was more vocal in terms of like the kind of promo side, but like you said, he let the battles do the talking this year, and maybe to his detriment, I'm not sure, but yeah, he definitely still kept that level of consistency that he always has.
I don't know, because I feel like then it's kind of going against him, because the time when he was most vocal is when he was up against massive names, but he was losing to them, and I feel like he can't win for losing. Like, if he's quiet and he's just letting his talent speak for him, I don't want people to say that was to his detriment. Like, I feel like that's why I ended up with him as my honorable mention, because I felt like I was being a bit tight. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I was being a bit rude, like being like, listen, he's had a good year because he has come back and really done his thing. He's done his big one in the stage or in the ring or in the pit or whatever. But he hasn't done a lot of the talking, and I think now we've just got to get the best of both worlds, and he'll be undeniable potentially moving forward.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, that's it, right, Linda? I feel like if he gets that happy medium, because it wasn't just that he was talking, he was being matched against big names and not winning. I think a lot of those he did really well in. It was the ones where you're battling your own class. The battles like the reverse thing was such a big turning point. Visual was such a big turning point, where it was one, where you look at where, their trajectory going into and then afterwards, and what he was saying and how he was behaving and the perception. I think that was a real turning point. And this year it was like, all right, I'm gonna knuckle down, gonna let my work talk for me. If he can find if he can find that that sweet spot between that talking your shit and showing your shit, because that's the thing. Like, that top six, they talk their shit and they show and prove. Yes, I may lose, but it's because I'm battling one of the best in the world, and you can't even battle him, never mind lose to him.
At that point, it doesn't matter. Like, you should be talking your shit. I don't know about you lot, but I feel like that's kind of low-key becoming a lost art, and I think that was what was happening in previous years, and this is why it's so good to see some of these OGs back outside and qualifying for these lists. Like, they talk their shit, they sell the fight, they're online going crazy at each other. They're making it exciting. Like, we want it to be exciting in the ring, of course, but also in the lead up. Like, sell those damn tickets. And I feel like, the OGs were showing why they were professionals at it, because they were selling those tickets. They were talking their shit, and then they went in and they gave performances, of their lives effectively. So that's what you want. A happy medium is when you're going to really show that you've progressed to a point of we can call you a professional for real in this thing. Oh, you need to explain some things here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Crazy. I don't even.
Bobby Rex is 9.
Let me talk.
Let's hear the wax smash.
Let me hear the wax
smash. I've let everyone talk today. I let everyone talk tonight. I let you say your shit. Even though you say the questions I want to say, I've let everyone talk. Okay, cool.
You did, but we have to get our jokes off. Look at this.
Okay, no. All right, cool. I say. Okay, you say. Can I do 10 talk? Okay, cool. Okay, I'll do number 1. Cool. Gemini. I think he set the standard for this year. I think he came back in his first full year, battle rap, smoked everything. Okay, cool. He lost Coach J. That was still fire battle. I thought it was number 1. He did everything top tier this year. Everything was top tier. Everything was number 1. Everything was good to the standard. I've got a great number 1 as Gemini, as everyone had it. Bizzo Bond, I'm not gonna lie. I put Bizzo Bond for Koj, and I did this last minute. I'm not going to lie. And I'll tell you why. It's because of them 2 stumbles. I'm not gonna lie, man. I need some consistency. He had a good year. He's had a very good year. I am not denying that. But rap talk. Realistic, I was there. I saw it with my eyes. That's a really big moment. What a really big moment. But you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that in a big battle. That's my understanding. To be fair, you beat Gemini. Gemini's undefeated streak. Beat him. I lost money on that. I lost fucking money on that. So I can't even cheat. I can't even chat shit on that.
Can we admit that's why you're mad? Can we admit that's why you're mad?
No, that's not one mad. That's not one mad. I mean, to be honest, the Bobby Rex was a bit mad. But I can't lie. But yeah, but the Koj one, that's why I kind of put him to third, was because of the stumbles against Raptor. And obviously, I had to just put the little detail. If we're talking top two, can't be doing it against the top two. That's just me. That was just me. Even though he beat Koj, he beat Rivers clean. Can't lie. But yeah, those two moments, I put them number 3 for me. Even though he had a very, very great year. Chris at the standard. Pete, he was the champion.
Bro, I can't hear you. Is it just me or
Wi-Fi won't let him be great?
To be honest.
brother?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Anyone hear me? Can you hear me?
It's cutting in and out.
Yo, wax on, wax off, wax mill in the building. Shout out to Charles for letting me in the panel. Also want to apologise to Charles for the shitty audio. It's very shit, nasty work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna hold myself accountable to that. But let's not go down to the negative too far. Let's get started. So, top 10 of the year. Top 10 of the year. Well. It was a sticky one. I'm not gonna lie, it was a sticky one. But I'm gonna explain myself. Give me a chance to explain myself since my audio was very, very shit. But like I said, I'm gonna hold myself accountable to that one. Number 1, I got Gemini, obviously. I'll be honest. Gemini was the model of consistency for all battle rappers for all year. Yes, he had that one loss against Koj, and that was a fucking battle of the year contender. So we can still put points towards that. But he was just, look, 10 years out the game, his first full year of battle rap, and he literally just smacked the competition apart. Smacked it apart. 10 years out the game, and that's the year that you put on?
No, Wax. Gemini was out the game for 4 years, not 10. 4 years. But I'm going to let you be great.
Yeah, man, you're number 1 outright. 10 years out of the game, and you're doing that. Wins against top tiers. Giving us a number 1 battle of the year. I'm taking that. Gemini, number 1. Just being the model of consistency all year round. Number 2. Well, I know for a fact everyone's probably got Koj in there. And rightly, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not even going to complain with that. But I'm not going to lie. I had to think about it. I can't let it go. Man. Look, man. He choked, stumble, whatever you want to call it, against Raptor. Definitely choked against Raw Seek. And I hate to be the guy, but I can't, that nitpicks like this. But come on, man, I just can't see that top 2 standard. He fucking washed the floor with Rivers. Great battle against fucking Gemini, battle of the year contender. But if you're top tier, and if you're top tier doing this consistently, man, those type of things can't be in your. You need to cut it out of your repertoire. Yes, he had a great year. However, them two moments that knocked it down for me, man. And that's why I put Koj at number 3. Put Bizzo at number 2 because even though I'm not a firm believer of all these 3 battles and you get top 5 straight away, I'm not a believer of that. So if you don't like it because I said that, sue me. Don't care. But if you're gonna have 3 battles, you got to at least win at least most of them, and that's why I've got Bizzo. He won at least most of them. Like, he's got record win against you, man. No matter how much you want to say that, no, Bizzo lost. Nah. He has a record win against Bobby. Fire battle, by the way. That was a fire battle. Bobby pushed him. I'm not gonna lie. Bobby pushed him. But he still won that. But one thing I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm sick of this narrative. I don't care about the personality of Bizzo, man. Look, man, the guy just keeps swiping out UK competition left, right, center. The only loss we got against UK competition, in a nutshell, really, it was Tony D. Everyone else, he's beaten. So, what is the whole deal about everyone when it comes to fucking, oh, he's boring, he's this, he's that? I don't give a damn about none of that. I don't give about none of that. If he's boring, beat him. If he's boring, beat him. If, like, everyone's saying Luke Castro beat him, cool, I'm not disagreeing with that. But if the UK guys think he's too boring, beat him. Beat him right there. Go on, beat him. Take his title away from him. You can't. You can't. So until someone does that to this day, I ain't hearing all this boring talk. No. Number 4, I got Quill. Quill has just been, he is the best performer in the UK. Let's be honest. When it comes to performance, it's Quill. I call him Cool Man Holler for a reason, man. This guy just knows how to pull it out the bag, man. Look against Visual. Undoubtedly 3-0. Like, people say he might 3-0 in. People saying 2-1, but the performance of that day with against Visual was crazy. When it comes to the whole, when it comes to the Magic Man, the Flowers, even the first round, the moment with Shotty, just incredible. And yeah, he had a good battle against Thesaurus. He's been good, man. It's been very good. A great crazy battle with Marlowe. You know what I'm saying? So he pulled, like, he's just a model of consistency. That's my slogan for today. Model of consistency. That's what Quill has been. Number 5, I'm gonna go for Reverse. I chose Reverse. Why I chose Reverse? Because my God, he has been running through the competition. Like, literally been running through competition. Like, the guy is just, like, he's beaten, took Crow out of here, took Frost out of here, took fucking, who else you got the fuck out of it? Bruv, he got Georgia the fuck out of it. That's what I'm saying. He has just been running through competition. The hardest matchups was Loso. And even that, 48 hours. Yeah, safe. That unprecedented, crazy year. The only loss we could say really, what was clear, was Lazy. Lazy outclassed him that day. Outclassed him. I don't know because of if it was the steam out of the year that, I had a great year, he lost steam at the end. I don't know, but he has had a crazy year. Reverse, definitely number 5 for me anyway. So yeah. Right, 6 to 10. Now this is where it got a bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie. Now, if you see me on a battle event and you say, Wax, didn't like your list, fuck you, like, I won't be offended. Here's what it is. But at the end of the day, it's my list, innit? So number 6, I got Visual. I got Visual because he had a pretty box. I ain't gonna lie, he had a pretty box standard year. But I will see as a Premier Battle that Irish title was I think that was a big step this year. He beat Moke. No matter how you feel who won that battle, he beat Moke. And that was a very contested, that was actually a grudge match. So, kudos to him. I'm not gonna lie, he did take a loss against Quill. Think I did see him beating Black T in that one rounder. So he had a decent year. But at the end of the day, I think that Prem to Irish title, I think it was a good look because, as you know, Prem was trying to rebuild the Irish division. And to be honest, Irish battle is trying to be on a comeback in general. And I just feel like having someone that represents Ireland with the #1 battle rap league in the UK at the moment, that was a big thing. So I picked Visual number 6. Number 7 is Crow, which I'm not gonna lie, he had a 50-50 year. I feel like he lost to Reverse. He lost to Roots, and that was a very good battle. That was a very, very good battle. However, though, he did beat Mackenzie, which I thought that was a breakout performance for him. And I felt like he absolutely smoked Emerson Kennedy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of them people, I don't care if you choked. If you choked, don't blame that on me. Blame that on the fucking person who came here and decided to choke. That's his fault. Crow just did what he had to do and he just cleaned up the job. And I liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I always will credit the people. Even if the person didn't come out his best, if you know how to smoke him in that very moment, I credit that any day of the week. Now this is where it's gonna get a bit, yeah. Right. I'm gonna explain these two together in it because I'm not gonna explain it because I don't want to feel like I'm waffling. But Yunnan at number 8 and Bobby Rex at number 9. Why did I put them two there? I put Bobby Rex at number 9. And I know it's people are gonna feel, oh, Terry, I know you lost the bet. Fuck the bet. Like, fuck all that. It's my opinion. This is my opinion anyway. I feel like Bobby lost 2 out of 3 battles this year. Yes, he smoked Frankie. He smoked Frankie out of his book so bad that we don't even see him in contention like that. We didn't even see him in contention like that for the rest of the year. That's how bad that smoking was. However, though, I'm old school, man. If you can win, that takes it more to me. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. The Yunnan battle was debatable. It was debatable, but I had him losing that one. No matter what anyone says. The Bizzo battle. He had a good showing. He had a very good showing, but he lost. He lost, and I'm a solid advocate of yes, I get it. Impact, of course, level opponent. But you got to win at the end of the day. You got to win at the end of the day, man. Because come on, man. I mean, if 3 battles was all you need to become top 5 or top whatever, bruh, book me in. Book me in. If 3 battles all you need, book me in. And I want nothing but top tier caliber competition. And then we'll see. If that's all you need. If that's all you need, then book me in. Yunnan, I feel like, I'm not gonna lie, he was decent this year. He had a GTS look, which is very good. It's a very good look for him. I'm not even gonna add the Jinx battle because that's I'm not gonna do that to him. Fuck all that. I feel like he beat Bobby. I feel like he did beat Bobby, no matter what anyone says. And I thought like he had a good one against Mackenzie though. He had a good one against Mackenzie, a good back and forth. I think even though people did say he should have beaten him easily, hey, Mackenzie made a fight of it, and Yunnan came and prevailed. Even though he prevailed, I really liked what Mackenzie did that day. But Yunnan had a decent showing, and he lost to Bizzo. He lost to Bizzo, man. He lost to Bizzo. That one I will count, no matter how people feel that went. That was a good battle. But why did the number one question, I know you all want to hear this, why did I put Yunnan and Bizzo and Bobby at 8 and 9? I just felt, I'm going to be very honest, the people above just did things better than them. And I know you're going to say level opponent, impact. Yep, impact. There you go. Visual. You got an Irish belt representing one country. I thought that's big to me. Crow, your body international. I don't care how bloody not prepped this guy was, Emerson Kennedy was, he still bodied him, smoked his boots. It's a name at best. That's like US over the sea, they know who he is. So how so, and Crow destroyed him. That was a big thing to me. Reverse. Stand up, breakout, yeah. And say, hey, come on, man. Not beating Loso, but battling Loso in that type of prime. Basically, at the end of the day, I just feel that the 6 above did, a 7 above them did more to me than I feel. That's why I feel. You can, like I said, you can come to me at the end of the day and say, well, actually, your list was shit, and I don't give a shit because that's my list. But last but not least, number 10, I've got RX, well, Riz. I can't stand saying RX Southside, man. I know him as Riz. And let me tell you something about Riz, man. Riz, he had a fucking stonking hell of a year. Fucking stonking hell of a year. This guy, and in his first year in battle rap, from the trenches to no loose chat, to going to Prem, to I battle, to hit most stages in the UK battle rap, and to get international in your first year without a tournament. Yeah, he did good this year. I'm not gonna lie, he did very, very good. That's amazing to me. But Riz, as I said before, now people are gonna be watching you now. People are gonna keep a close eye on you now. Now, the year he's had has been phenomenal. Like Giz, TKE, Whispers. That Whispers battle, that was them 3 rounds from him versus Whispers, crazy. Caveman, to this day, some of the best bars you will ever hear in your life. But this is what I'm saying though. This needs to be like what the year he's had now, with how active he's been. Now you need to elevate that to, now can I reach the names that they think I can't reach? The mid tiers, the top tiers. That's where he needs to reach now. But yeah, that's my top 10 of the year. Shout out Chubbs for bringing me through. Again, my bad about the audio issues. That's my bad. I can hold accountable to that. But yeah, top 10 of the year. Much love. Peace out. Follow Wax Millie. Subscribe to that. All that. Bless.
Right. Okay. So if he chumps back in, it's totally fine. Let's try and break this down a little bit then.
I have a question. I'm hoping you guys can answer. Did Koj stumble or choke? Not choke, but did he stumble against Real Sick? I thought his first was a bit slow getting into it.
He did in that. No, in the first, there was a section where he was trying to imitate what Real Sick does with blows. And he couldn't get it together. Like he run it back, he couldn't get it together, so he skipped past it. I don't think it classed as a choke because it didn't suck all the air out of the room or anything. He just moved on to the next thing, but it was a stumble.
Okay.
So I do hear that. I do hear that point, and that's fine. I still just, there's certain bits that just don't make sense to me. But
some people's stumbling is better than some other people's rapping.
But that's my thing. Like, because I have to look at it from the point of like, this is Real Sick, right? You stumbled in your first, and then you still had a great battle with him.
Yeah.
That's better than 2 people that like are just fine battling each other and not having any stumbles. But I understand from a purist point of view that is a fair point, I guess. I really was just waiting for the explanation of Bobby Rex being at number 9. That's all I want you to know.
That's wild.
That's all I want you to know.
Yunnan at 8 too. Yeah,
Yunnan at 8 and Bobby at 9th is just,
and reverse over Yunnan and Bob. Like, shout out to reverse because
over both.
Let's try and break it down at least on why in particular. So if we were to say Reverse won a lot of his battles, right? Totally get that.
It has to be on a wins and losses thing, right?
Yeah, because Yunnan lost a few battles. He did lose a few. At least my
few. Hold on.
No, he only lost 2 and one was a robbery. He only lost 2 and one was a robbery.
If he's been particular about whether it's a robbery or not, it doesn't matter. It's a loss.
Okay, fine, but either way, he lost 2. 2 is not a few; it's a couple.
And 1's 3.
I just want to listen. We have to respect Yunnan. We have to. He had 5 battles. He lost 2, and one of them doesn't even really count as a loss if we're all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's come on.
I can only. I'm saying this in hyperbole to speak for Wax himself.
I mean, I had him at number 7, so people could argue with me too. So that's why I'm not too mad at the placement. But if we're gonna say how many losses we had, we have to be very clear. It was only 2.
Visual, like what weight does Wax put on for Visual winning the title match and like retaining? Do you know what I mean?
It must be high.
It must be high. Like that is important. He's the champion of his country. So there's credit to be earned there for being
retaining. Hold on, retaining.
He didn't retain. That was my first point. He didn't retain. He won it. It was up for contention. Him and Raptor were going for the title together, so he didn't have it ahead of time. He was just organizing PBI events. But I think for me, one of my own sort of calculations, one of my own variables, all that kind of stuff, was the fact that yes, he won the title. That's great. You got the title to show for it. Love that for you. You've been killing shit. But the level of competition, no disrespect, very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Jennn winning his title match means 100 times more than Visual winning his in terms of the level of what it is.
I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you did.
Even the stage that it was on, the event that it's on and everything as well. Yeah, it all counts to it.
Absolutely.
I think weighed like there were a lot of things that weighed heavily for me for Viz, but even still I couldn't have him higher than 9, and I certainly didn't have him higher than Yunnan or Bobby, whose impact, you know, 3 battles, Bobby, you know, but 3 great performances, and Visual doesn't have, you know, 3 bodies of work, or 3, you know, I can't compare 3 of Yunnan of Visuals. So Visual has, you know, one of them's, or 2 of them 1 round, no, one of them 1 round, but like I can't look at 3 of Visual's battles and put them side by side with 3 of Bobby's and say, yeah, you did better. Like,
and that's why wins and losses aren't the only metric, because Bobby Rex's losses look better than a lot of people's wins, if we're going to be honest.
And they can't be. And this is what I'm saying. Like, why, if that's the case, why have you got Riss at 10th? If we're talking about just pure wins and losses, if we're not looking at level of opponents and stuff, that's, you know, I can be, you know, and if that's the case, you know, Gemini, next year, you want to shoe in for Battler of the Year. Here's what you do. Give every newcomer a shot. Just go on a newcomer, like go on a gatekeeper. I'm just going to battle all the newcomers. You know.
Also, do judged losses win more than perceived
Gemini
losses?
versus Como incoming.
Bizzo should be number 1 then, if we're only looking at judged losses for seasons, because he didn't lose any. Do you know, like there's certain, like there's just things that don't make sense. They don't make sense.
So why would Wax have Crow above Unanimous and Bobby?
I truly have no idea.
Perry knows.
But I love Crow. I love Crow. No,
a wins-loss situation, like, because like Quills are the 2 losses there. Crow has the 2 losses, and there is, like, I mean, on my list, apologies for projecting for Wax's behalf, there is Battle of the Year contenders in them losses and an international body, which I know we've discussed impact.
Hold on. Hold on, stop. Back up, because I've got lost. I think I missed something. Who's got Battle of the Year contenders? Are we still talking about Reverse and Crow?
So I think Mackenzie versus Crow is a Battle of the Year contender, to me.
It was a good
battle. Great battle. I think it's a great battle, and it was.
I don't think
it was great. You know what it is? It's a great fight. It is a great fight. Like, and in the building, we all loved it. On the watch back, it's a great battle. But when you look at the top battles of the year, I don't. You know, maybe it might be in the top 10, maybe, but I would have to go through a lot of other battles before I got there.
Absolutely.
And not to take anything away from Crow or Mackenzie, because it was an amazing battle, and I think the fight, it was the fight, it was the fact that each round was okay. I don't think you're going to beat this, and every guy like just came back, and Crow in particular came and just was like, nah, I got this. Fuck you, car. Like,
I think the thing is,
not car.
I think the thing is with that battle is I look at that battle and remember Crow more than I remember the battle, if you know what I mean. Like, it's the same. Like Gemini and Quill, I don't watch that and think, yeah, Gemini. I just think like, shit, that is our battle. Do you know what I mean? So I think it depends on that as well.
Let's pull up the list. Top. Anyway, top 10.
Let's go.
Come on.
Once me and the plug are connected, course it's something electric. Fucking respect it.